Chapter 7:18. What exactly is Ashura? Under the starry sky, Lanyan City was exceptionally quiet. Not far from the city, the national monument was even quieter. Countless warriors who had sacrificed their lives for the empire were buried under the huge stone tablets. Lin Muyu was lying on his back under a stone tablet, his hands supporting the back of his head. He looked up at the starry sky and suddenly asked this question. After returning to Lanyan City, he would come here almost every day to accompany Chu Huayin, Qin Lei, Lei Hong, and the others in front of the tombstones. It was good to talk, otherwise he would feel suffocated. Shura, Tang Xiaoxi was wearing a dark blue cloak. She sat on a tree trunk at the side, her legs swaying in the cold wind. She said, "Actually, I'm not too sure, but it sounds very powerful." Shura is a hunter in the dark, a natural hunter. It's recorded in the ancient books, but it seems that no one has ever seen Ashura. Lin Muyu pursed her lips and said, "I don't know how Xiaoyin is now. If only we could know which plane she is in, we could go find her and help her get through this." Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly. "Xiaoyin must have lost her memory now. She doesn't know you at all. If you interfere, she might beat you up. Alright, if you want to know where Xiaoyin is, maybe you can ask for help from the God Realm. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao Fairy can help us." "No, the Demon Emperor told me in my dream last night. He said that Xiao has signed a divine pact with a blazing angel called Shiyen from the Western Heaven Realm and can no longer help us. He didn't say anything else. He said that he was afraid of activating the divine pact and causing Xiao to lose all her cultivation. In any case, he told us to be careful." "I see." Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, "Then what should we do? Are we just going to wait like this? I wonder how Xiaoyin is doing now. She must have suffered a lot by herself." Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. "Xiaoyin has already tasted the bitterness and humiliation of the 3 realms and the 6 paths of reincarnation. My chest hurts when I think of her suffering in some unknown place. Xiaoxi, my heart aches for her." Tang Xiaoxi fell into silence for a few seconds before she muttered, "I also feel sorry for Xiaoyin. It's all my fault. If you want to blame someone, blame the demon tribe. If Yaoji of the demon tribe hadn't controlled your mind, Xiaoyin wouldn't have ended up like this." As she spoke, Lin Muyu clenched her fists and said, "Within a year, I'll definitely wipe out the devil race completely from the continent." Tang Xiaoxi was slightly surprised. "Mo, are you serious?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. "We have to be decisive. Otherwise, leaving the devil race in the Tongtian Gorge will always be a big problem for us. The Demon Emperor told me to be careful. There must be other strong enemies. Before the strong enemies come, we must first wipe out the devil race and unify the entire continent. Xiaoyin, the 7 Seas Tang sect has been rebuilt. What are your plans for the future?" "The 7 Seas Tang sect has Tang Zong. I've already imparted all of the fire god's seal to him. I believe that with Tang Zong's comprehension, he'll have great achievements in 3 to 5 years. The Tang sect won't need me then. I want to be with you and wait for Xiaoyin to return." Lin Muyu suddenly smiled, "And then stay by my side. I was worried that you said you'd stay in 7 Seas City. If that's the case, I'll miss you. I'll have to fly for a long time just to see you." Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but feel flustered. She smiled sweetly and said, "Really?" Lin Muyu didn't look at her. She continued to look at the sky and said, "I'm not a plant. When I was in the Nether Spring realm, I already thought that if I love someone, I should treat them with all my heart. I'm a person with the sovereign persona. Since I was lucky enough to awaken the sovereign persona, then I'm also lucky enough to have you and Xiaoyin. Aren't you afraid that Xiaoyin will be jealous?" Tang Xiaoxi asked carefully, afraid that his answer wouldn't satisfy her. Lin Muyu took a different approach and said, "I'll thank the heavens if you're not jealous. I'm not worried about Xiaoyin." "Tui, what kind of person do you think I am?" "I'm saying that because I didn't misjudge you." In the distance, a group of royal guards dressed in the armor of the royal guards were waiting. They watched the young man lying on the nation-guarding monument that was revered by the world. If it was anyone else who dared to be so disrespectful, they would have been dragged out and beheaded. However, the person in front of them was the Qin Emperor Lin Muyu. He was the person who turned the tide. Furthermore, he had such a close relationship with Chu Huayin and Qin Lei when they were alive. Presumably, the 2 of the 4 heroes of Lanyan who had died for the country wouldn't blame him for anything. Early in the morning, amidst the rumbling sounds of nooses, Shangyang City's north gate was opened. Countless commoners who were waiting to head out to farm or hunt filed out of the city. When it was close to noon, a group of royal guards appeared and sealed the city gate, preventing commoners from entering. There was no other reason for this. one of the empire's 3 kings, Feng Jixing, was going to arrive very soon. Outside the city, the flags of the empire's purple Yinghua flower and Prince Xian were intertwined. The number of people Feng Jixing had brought with him was not a lot, but it was not a small number either. There were 500 light cavalry troops accompanying him, and their extravagance was far from that of some dukes and marquises. After all, Feng Jixing had stepped into the divine realm a long time ago, and a forged celestial lattice had allowed his abilities to multiply. Now that he had obtained 2 divine weapons that were substandard divine weapons, it was clear that his abilities had improved by leaps and bounds. There was no need for him to worry about being assassinated. A row of cavalry troops opened up a path at the front. They held onto wooden shields and all of them wore solemn expressions. After the 200 cavalry troops entered the city, a big horse finally galloped into the city. It was Feng Jixing who had been waiting for a very long time. He felt very vexed at having to rely on the nobility, but those officials said that this was a rule passed down from their ancestors and that they could not go against it. Therefore he could only put up with all of this. Following behind the cavalry troops, Feng Jixing wore a set of light gray armor and golden battle robes. Having stepped into the divine realm, he appeared even more handsome, causing the commoners in the city to be stunned. Then should we believe in Prince Feng Jixing? He's so handsome, it's no wonder that such a character can eliminate the traitors of peace country. I wonder when Prince Xian will be choosing his concubine. I'm so excited. With Feng Jixing's ability, he was naturally able to hear the commoners' whispers. However, he pretended that he did not hear them. His left hand held onto the reins while his right hand held onto the hilt of the Crimson Phoenix sword. He wore a relaxed smile on his face as he kept on greeting the commoners on both sides of the road. Feng Jixing was only tempted by the matter of choosing his concubine, but he would definitely not act on it. He knew why he had come to Xiangyang City this time around. Jianghu was the southern country duke, a feudal lord. Therefore, Feng Jixing would definitely make a trip to the south once a month to meet with Jianghu. He would have a drink or two with him and chat about some trivial matters regarding the empire and Lanyan City, using this to probe Jianghu's heart. Feng Jixing knew that if Jianghu were to create trouble in the south, the empire would probably sink into another internal strife. Lin Muyu did not have the time to deal with such public relations. Therefore, Feng Jixing could only trouble Prince Xian. In the city, a group of guards went up to welcome them. Right in front was a general who wore 2 golden general stars. After getting off his horse, he knelt by the roadside and said respectfully, "I'm Xiangyang City's military superintendent commander, Lu Hao. I'm a country protector general and have been sent by the southern country duke to escort Prince Xian to the Mingshan army's headquarters." General Lu Hao, it's been hard on you. Get up and lead the way. Yes, Your Highness. Lu Hao got on his horse and gave the order, "Turn the horses around and invite Prince Xian to the central camp." The cavalry was about to move forward when a commotion suddenly rang out. Feng Jixing quickly looked over and asked, "What's going on?" A captaincy said, "I don't know. It seems that someone wants to petition." Petition? Feng Jixing was stunned. The word petition had a long history. It was a way for commoners to express their wishes to the upper echelons. There were probably people who knew that today was the day Prince Xian would come to Xiangyang City. Therefore, there were people who wanted to petition. Since he was not in a hurry to head to the central camp, Feng Jixing waved his hand and said, "Let whoever wants to petition in." Yes. Very soon, an elderly man came to the front of the cavalry under the protection of 2 guards. He quickly knelt down and said, "Your Highness, my name is Zhou Yang. I make a living selling medicine in the north of Xiangyang City. A few days ago, a group of people came and smashed up my medicine shop, snatching away many expensive medicinal herbs and causing me to go bankrupt. I went to the magistrate's office to lodge a complaint, but no one paid any attention to it. Your Highness, please seek justice for me." Feng Jixing turned around and dismounted from his horse. He helped the old man up and said, "Elder, please get up. Tell me who was the one who smashed and robbed your medicine shop. I'll help you get justice." It's someone from the Tang clan. It's Tang Wei's distant cousin, someone called Tang Wu. Tang Wu? Feng Jixing frowned and said, "Elder, please return home first. I'll send someone to investigate this matter. Don't worry, we'll definitely seek justice for you." "Thank you, Your Highness." The elderly man turned to leave. However, he had only taken a few steps when his body suddenly trembled and he fell down in astonishment. Fresh blood had soaked through his clothes from his chest, and an arrow could be faintly seen piercing through his head. He had been shot dead. "Who is it?" Feng Jixing was enraged. He raised his hand and pulled out the crimson phoenix, bellowing, "Who dares to kill the innocent before me?" The crowd on both sides panicked. A few burly men dashed out while carrying black cloth in their hands. They were also holding onto crystals that were flashing with electricity. Those were the energy crystals used to detonate the magic crystal cannons. Feng Jixing had participated in the development of the magic crystal cannons and naturally knew about these. However, how was he to leave now? There were at least 10,000 people in the entire Shangyang city's north square. If he were to leave, these people would all be sending themselves to their deaths. This bunch of B*****stards. Feng Jixing mumbled. Boom, boom, boom. Purple light soared into the sky. The explosive prowess of the magic crystals was no small matter, and the square seemed to have been vaporized in an instant. The people in the core zone had no time to escape, and their bodies were instantly vaporized. A mushroom cloud soared into the sky, and the prowess of the explosion swept out in all directions, turning the houses and city walls into dust. Buzz! A shock wave continued to impact into the city. In the core zone, Feng Jixing stood in the deep pit, surrounded by a solid wind shield. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked into the distance and bellowed furiously, "B*****starred. I'm going to kill you." In a corner several hundred meters away, a middle-aged guard silently looked into the distance and mumbled, "Princess Wei, forgive me for my incompetence. If I can't kill Feng Jixing, I won't be able to repay you. I can only die." He slowly drew out his dagger. Pa pa pa, a bolt of lightning flashed before him. It was Feng Jixing. He had already heard Tang Xian's prayer through his psyche power. "You." Tang Xian took a few steps back. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and looked at him. "Is it Tang Wei?" "I." Tang Xian didn't say anything. Feng Jixing's overwhelming aura surged towards him, and he had no way to defend himself. His spirit was instantly crushed, which meant that he had admitted it. Die. The crimson phoenix waved its hand, and Tang Xian's body instantly turned into a pile of dust. Chapter 719. What? Prince Xin Feng Jixing was assassinated? In the central tent, Jianghu slammed the table and stood up, bellowing fiercely, "Nonsense! How is Prince Xin now?" "Prince Xin is fine. He's pacifying the commoners in the city and will come over in a while." General of the South Zhao Haishan's countenance was ashen. He knew what this assassination meant. "Have you found out who did it?" Jianghu asked with narrowed eyes. "We found out. It's someone instructed by Princess Wei's retainer, Tang Xian. They used a few magic crystal cannons to explode Shangyang City's north gate, killing and injuring over 4,000 innocent commoners." "Where's Tang Xian?" "He's already been killed by Prince Xin." "How muddle-headed." Jianghu clenched his fists, his entire body trembling as he said, "What on earth is Tang Wei thinking? Is she really that reckless? She even dares to assassinate Feng Jixing. Is there anything she doesn't dare to do?" Zhao Haishan frowned and said, "Duke Yu, this matter definitely won't end peacefully. From what I see, the people Feng Jixing brought with him have all been killed, leaving him alone. If Feng Jixing were to come here to denounce us, we can only hand over Princess Wei. However, Princess Wei is Duke Yu's wife. I think we might as well beat her at her own game." With that, Zhao Haishan made a slashing gesture. His meaning was clear. "No." Jianghu seemed to have lost all his strength. He sat down on the chair weakly and said, "Tang Wei wants to force me to fall out with Feng Jixing, forcing me to take revenge for the Tang clan. But I can't do that. I, Jianghu, am a hero who has done my best for the empire and the people of the world. How can I do such a disloyal thing? If I kill Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu will definitely lead her troops to the south. Who will be able to stop Lin Muyu's 500,000-man army? Even if I kill Feng Jixing and defeat Lin Muyu, how will I face Her Highness Qin when she returns one day?" Zhao Haishan was stunned. "Do you still think that Her Highness Qin can be resurrected in the Shattered Cauldron continent?" "Why not?" Jianghu was unafraid and he said, "Her Highness Qin possesses the divine personality of an overgod and is protected by the heavens and the earth. She will definitely be able to overcome all the difficulties and come back to life. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing firmly believe this, and I, Jianghu, firmly believe this as well. Then, if Feng Jixing comes to denounce us, what should we do?" "Nothing much. Bring 500 soldiers to the Southern Duke residence and invite Princess Wei over." "This." Zhao Haishan pondered for a moment, then cupped his fists and said, "Yes, Duke Yu." The sound of training resounded in the camp. Numerous cavalrymen galloped forward and forth, practicing the tactics to deal with demons. Although the valiant Dragon Camp had won the battle in Tongtian Province and the Mingshan Corps of Shangyang City probably wouldn't have a chance to encounter demons again, they still practiced this tactic, hoping to have another chance to fight demons again one day. Although the valiant Dragon Camp had won the battle in Tongtian Province and the Mingshan Corps of Shangyang City probably wouldn't have a chance to encounter demons again, they still practiced this tactic, hoping to fight demons again one day. Below the Yuan Gate there were messy horse hoof prints. It was muddy after the rain. Pa! A pair of pure black battle boots stepped into the muddy water. A large part of the golden cloak behind Feng Jixing had been blasted away by the magic crystal cannons, and there were many gray marks on his face. He appeared to be in a very sorry state. When he stepped into the Yuan Gate, a group of captaincy from the Mingshan Corps came up to him and went down on one knee. "Greetings, Prince Xen. Rise. Where's the Southern Duke?" "The Southern Duke is waiting for your highness in the camp. He sent us to receive you." "Is that so?" Feng Jixing's eyes narrowed and he said with strong killing intent, "Lead the way." "Yes." The group quickly entered the central tent. They saw Jianghu taking off his military uniform and carefully removing the star insignia on his collar. He was only wearing a set of white clothes and appeared calm. "Southern Duke, what's the meaning of this?" Feng Jixing asked with a frown. Jianghu turned and cupped his fists. "I, Jianghu, have not been able to control my wife well, causing the people of Shangyang City to be implicated for no reason. Prince Xen almost died as well. Jianghu knows that he has committed a grave sin and is willing to be stripped of his military rank. I only wish to be a lowly soldier and continue to serve the Empire. I hope that your highness can grant my wish." What a move to advance by retreating. Feng Jixing let out a cold laugh in his heart and said, "Southern Duke, you're doing this to protect Tang Wei, right?" "Yes." Xiangyu's gaze was stern as he said, "Tang Wei is Duke Lan's granddaughter. Back then Duke Lan betrothed Tang Wei to me, and I owe him a great debt of gratitude. When her highness Yin was still around, Xiangyu had a debt of gratitude toward her. Xiangyu can't let her highness Yin down either. Therefore I can only do this. I hope that your highness Prince Xen will agree to my request and strip me of all my titles and military ranks. I only hope that you can spare Tang Wei's life." A group of generals in the surroundings dropped to their knees and shouted, "Your Highness, the Southern Country Duke is a meritorious minister of the country. Prince Xen, please show mercy and pardon Princess Tang Wei for her rash action this time around." Feng Jixing felt extremely pressured. This was Xiangyu's territory, and all the generals here were Xiangyu's men. There was also an army of 100,000 soldiers outside. Therefore Feng Jixing did not dare to act too recklessly. "Your Highness, please pardon Tang Wei's death sentence." Xiangyu knelt down on one knee and said. Feng Jixing fell silent for a few seconds. Then he suddenly raised his palm gently, and a stream of wind element law's divine powers supported Xiangyu's arms. Xiangyu gritted his teeth and also circulated his divine powers to contend against Feng Jixing's powers. Two waves of domain powers clashed in the air, and in the blink of an eye, Xiangyu's forehead was already covered in sweat. On the contrary, Feng Jixing appeared to be more relaxed. His forged immortal character kept on absorbing the spiritual powers in the world to replenish his depleted divine powers. With such domains contending against each other, Feng Jixing was naturally at an advantage. Xiangyu felt a chill in his heart. This time around he was certain that Feng Jixing's cultivation had surpassed his in all aspects. Even if he were to rebel and take action here, he might not be able to kill Feng Jixing. On the contrary, he would end up as a disloyal minister. Once Feng Jixing returned to Sunset City and raised an army of 300,000, it would be his end. Thinking up to there, Xiangyu slowly stood up with Feng Jixing's power, and his face was filled with guilt. Feng Jixing couldn't help but secretly find it funny. He said, "This isn't Duke Nan's crime, so naturally no one will punish Duke Nan for his crimes. However, Tang Wei's attempt to assassinate this prince is a serious matter, and she must be punished. From today onwards, Tang Wei will be stripped of her title as a princess, and she will be placed under house arrest in the Duke Nan residence. She will not be allowed to interact with anyone, and she will not be allowed to participate in any political or military affairs for the rest of her life. Violators will be executed immediately. In addition, take out 5 million Jining coins from Shangyang City's treasury to compensate the families of those who died." Xiangyu hurriedly knelt down again. "Thank you, Your Highness, for your pardon." At the back, Tang Wei's face was ferocious. She pointed at Feng Jixing and scolded, "Feng Jixing, you are a dog of the Qin family and a dog that bites. Just you wait, there will be a day when you will get your retribution. I curse you to die under the sword. Impudent. Feng Jixing raised his palm abruptly, and dimensional powers pierced through space, landing a loud slap on Tang Wei's face. Immediately, 5 lines of guidance appeared very clearly. Feng Jixing's countenance turned cold as he said, Tang Wei, you've done disobedient things time and time again. It's one thing that Her Highness tolerated you when she was still alive, but now that you've failed to assassinate me, you're still spouting nonsense. How could Duke Lan have such a foolish descendant? If you're not a pig, then watch how Princess She will be revered by the people of the world. As for you, you'll only be reviled by the people of the world. Don't be impudent anymore, or else you'll have to bear the consequences. Jianghu was so frightened that he broke out in cold sweat. Feng Jixing had acted too quickly, and he didn't even understand how his attack could land on Tang Wei's face from 10 meters away. Right now, Feng Jixing's cultivation was too terrifying. Your Highness, please calm down. I'll take care of my wife. Xiangyu's countenance turned cold. Men, send Tang Wei into a room in the manor and lock the door tightly. Without my permission, no one is to let her out. Yes. 2 guards went up and held Tang Wei's arms. When she wanted to continue cursing, they used a piece of cotton cloth to cover her mouth. Xiangyu could not help but take in a deep breath. If he had a choice, he would probably never be willing to face this arrogant and foolish woman, Tang Wei, in this lifetime. Feng Jixing threw a glance at Xiangyu and said, Southern Duke, it's really hard on you. Xiangyu was at a loss, not knowing what Feng Jixing's words meant. Let's go. Feng Jixing turned, pressed his hand on the hilt of the Crimson Phoenix saber, and said, Accompany me for a walk in the military camp. I want to see if the Mingshan army's battle prowess has improved or not. Yes, Your Highness. Men, prepare a horse for Your Highness. In the Empire's northern border, Yunzhong Province had a vast territory, and it was the largest province in the entire Great Qin Empire. At the same time, it was also one of the most prosperous provinces. Its commercial prosperity was second only to the Northern Ridge Province, where the imperial capital, Lanyan City, was located. At the same time, its military strength was not inferior to the imperial capital. After the reconstruction of the Iron Blade Army, it had a scale of nearly 200,000 soldiers, under the personal command of Northern Duke Luo Xian. In Muyu City, the winter snow from a few days ago had not yet melted, but the sky was filled with heavy snowflakes. Just as the warlocks had said, it had been a cold spring for the past few years. Perhaps the entire spring would be spent in heavy snow. In the Duke's mansion, Luo Xian walked to the courtyard with an iron spear in his hand, letting the snow fall on him. He raised his face, enjoying the falling snow, closed his eyes and said, How's the war in the north? Next to him, a general with 2 stars on his shoulders cupped his fists and said, Duke of North, the northern desert has only sent a small force this time, no more than 3,000 people. They are only here to harass the villages and counties in the northern region. I have already sent 10,000 soldiers with heavy shields to defend against the northern desert archers with heavy shields and long spears. If the northern desert is not eliminated, it will always be a big problem for us. Luo Xian said lightly. I understand. But it is snowing now and it is difficult to transport food. If we send cavalry, I am afraid the fodder for the horses will be a big problem. Besides what? Luo Xian looked back at him. Besides, the tribes in the northern desert are connected to the 8 wilderness plain in the northeast. The southern Nan family of the demons is stationed there. They have 100,000 cavalry. Once the southern Nan family gets involved, I am afraid we will suffer a great loss. Got it. Luo Xian's eyes lit up and he said, Pass down my order. Hold the northern line of defense. Don't take the initiative to attack. As long as we hold the line, the northern desert and the demons can't do anything to us. Yes, Duke of the North is wise. I will do it now. Chapter 720. Pa. In Tongtian City, the sound of birds flapping their wings reverberated in the air. Wei Chou, who was sitting on the railing of the pavilion, was surrounded by strands of ghostly power as his eyelashes fluttered up and down. He only opened his eyes when this power was completely transferred into his qi, only to see a messenger bird hopping on the grass beside him with a letter tube tied to its leg. Was Yu Yu's letter. Gently opening his hand, the messenger bird spread its wings and flew to Wei Chou's palm. Taking out the letter from the tube and looking at it carefully, Wei Chou's face could not help but turn livid. What is it? Whose letter is it? Not far away, Situ Sin, who was drinking wine, asked. It's the commanders. Wei Chou was still used to treating Lin Muyu as the commander of the Longdan army camp, even though in fact he was the rightful commander of the Brave Dragon army. Situ Sin asked, what did His Highness say? See for yourself. Situ Sin took the letter and just glanced at it before turning pale with fright. This? His Highness is not coming back and only ordered us to launch an attack? Yes. Wei Chou said lightly. He ordered the 200,000 troops of the Brave Dragon army to launch a large-scale attack and use the magic crystal cannons to break the demon race's sky canopy and attack the Tong Tian Gorge step by step, clearing the demon race from the Tong Tian Gorge. At this time, Feng Shi walked over with his helmet under his armpit. He seemed to have heard the conversation between the two and said, His Highness must have other important things to do. But Wei Chou hesitated for a moment. Feng Shi smiled. This subordinate can somewhat understand your Highness's decision. Now that the Longdan army camp has a strong army, coupled with Marquis Wei Minulin's external troops, we have a total of 300,000 troops in Lingdong province. In addition, we have several thousand magic crystal cannons and close to 200,000 magic crystal cannons. Adding Ouyang Yen and Lord Chu Chu, the two God Realm experts, the demons are no longer a match for us. Even if your Highness isn't here, we can still defeat the demons. Duke Wei has ruled the Longdan army camp for many years, don't you have the confidence to do so? His Highness has given you this mission, which proves his trust in your strength. Wei Chou couldn't help but laugh. I understand. Situ Sin took a deep breath. When do we attack? We have been waiting for this day for a long time. The equipment is ready, the rations are sufficient. Then, pass down the order. We will attack Heaven's Gorge tomorrow. No one is allowed to enter rashly. After entering Heaven's Gorge, build a camp every 10 miles, until the entire Heaven's Gorge becomes our camp. Yes, this subordinate understands. A heavy snow fell on the eastern border of Lingdong province. The sky was filled with goose feather-like snowflakes. On the eastern coast, the sound of the tide was endless. The sound of the wind was like a million marching troops. The snow on the beach had accumulated to a thickness of nearly 20 centimeters, and there were 2 lines of footprints on the snow. At the edge of the sea, a young man and a young woman were looking at the East Sea in the distance, feeling extremely carefree and heroic. Mu, you didn't bring me here just to look at the sea, did you? Tang Xiaoxi raised her hand to tighten the collar of her robe and said with a smile, In my impression, you're not a very romantic person, especially towards me. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and held Tang Xiaoxi's hand, saying, Don't worry, from now on, I will treat you the same way I treat Xiaoyin. The knot in my heart has been untied. I won't restrain myself like that anymore. Really? Of course, but this time, I really didn't come to the eastern coast to take you out for a walk. Then why? Tang Xiaoxi narrowed her beautiful crescent moon-like eyes and asked with a smile. Little Shi, do you feel anything? It's right here. Feel? Tang Xiaoxi was confused. No, I just feel cold. It's not cold. When you breathe the air here, do you feel different from before? No. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. What's wrong with you? I don't know either, Lin Muyu frowned and said, You just feel that there's something different in the air. What is it? I can't explain it clearly. These days I've been feeling that there's something in the east fusing into the air, like... He pondered for a long time and said, Like an invisible element has entered our world, so I always feel a vague uneasiness in my heart, feeling that there must be something in the east. The East Sea is a forbidden area, no one has been able to go there for tens of thousands of years. You're not thinking of challenging it, are you? Yes, I really want to go and have a look. Lin Muyu widened her eyes and looked at the endless East Sea, saying, I'm now one of the 3 kings of the empire, I must protect this land until Xiaoyin comes back. I feel a faint threat from the east. If I don't go and have a look, I won't be able to sleep well. But... Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips. I've just found you and we haven't even had a few good days together, but you want to bring me to court death. If I feel so wronged. Haha, it's fine, you stay here and wait for me, I'll be back soon, I'll definitely be back in a day and night. No, I want to go with you, I'm worried about you going alone. All right. Lin Muyu nodded. Then, when do we leave? Let's go now. Okay. 2 rays of light shot into the sky, flying close to the sea surface towards the distant sea, instantly reaching supersonic speed. Not long after, the sky was filled with dense clouds, lightning flashing. It was the storm domain, also the forbidden area of the East Sea. Fly there directly. Lin Muyu smiled, her body wrapped in dense supreme divine power. and like two sharp arrows she shot through the entire storm domain with Tang Xiaoxi, directly arriving at the other side of the storm domain. Further ahead, it was still a boundless sea. Occasionally a few small islands appeared, but there were no inhabitants on them. Just like that, after flying for half a day, it was still the sea in front of them. Immediately Tang Xiaoxi felt a little uneasy. There's not even a place to rest. Are we still going to continue flying forward? Once we run out of energy we'll drown, or be eaten by the sharks in the deep sea. Lin Muyu frowned. The faintly discernible power in her spirit sense also seemed to be a little blurry. Could it be an illusion? Was it really just a boundless sea in the east and there was nothing else at all? At this moment Tang Xiaoxi suddenly pointed to the south. Look, there's something over there. On the surface of the sea, there were a few small black figures. Lin Muyu hurriedly turned around and flew over. As she got closer she realized that it was a few warships, and the flag on the bow was very familiar. It was actually the flag of the Iha nation. Could it be Long Qianlin and Ding Shi's men? Without another word, Lin Muyu flew straight over and landed on the deck with a bang. Who's there? A group of Iha nation soldiers on the warships pulled out their weapons and pointed them straight at Lin Muyu. Among them, those with slightly sharper eyes already recognized them. Oh my god, it seems to be the Empire's Qin Emperor Lin Muyu and the Fugua Princess Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu walked leisurely on the deck and said, "Call your highest officer over to speak." A man with the insignia of a chili arch on his shoulder walked over and said, "I am Iha Nation's chili arch, Zhang Wanchang. Greetings to the Qin Emperor Lin Muyu and Princess Tang Xiaoxi." "Zhang Wanchang, where are you going?" Lin Muyu asked. Zhang Wanchang said respectfully, "Reporting to your highness, under the Dragon Commander's orders, we are heading to the outer regions of the East Sea in search of a new world." "A new world?" "Yes, we are only 3 scout warships in charge of exploring a new territory." Zhang Wanchang looked very cautious as he said, "Iha Nation is already declining. The food on the dragon-shaped island can't feed so many people, so we can only look for a new place to live. I hope that your highness can let us go. I thank you for sparing my life. How can you be sure that there is a new land on the sea?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "We are not sure." Zhang Wanchang shook his head and said bitterly, "This is the 7th day of our voyage. If the wind is with us we can still sail. Otherwise we can only rely on the sailors to row. However, this is our mission. If we can't find a new land we can only die on the sea. The food on the ship can last for another 40 days. After 40 days we will probably die." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and patted Zhang Wanchang's shoulder. "Then I wish you good luck. Oh yes, if you can go back alive and see Long Qianlin, remember to tell him that I will always remember Chu Huayin's death. One day I will take his head to comfort Chu Huayin and Qin Lei's souls in heaven." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded at Tang Xiaoxi. The two of them stepped on the ground and flew up, disappearing from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. There wasn't a single island nearby. The continuous flight had indeed caused Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi to feel exhausted. They needed to eat and rest. Moreover, Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique had explored a radius of nearly 200 miles. There weren't any strong energy waves within 200 miles. It seemed that the East Sea was really just a boundless sea. They turned back and returned to the Empire's territory. 3 days later, the 3 warships from Iha Nation were still slowly sailing in the sea. Zhang Wanchang's hand was on the hilt of his sword. He held onto the railing and looked into the distance. His face was indescribably lonely. Perhaps he was really going to die in this boundless sea? However, as the 3 warships were sailing slowly, everyone didn't notice a figure in the sky looking at them from afar. Zhang Wanchang's cultivation was higher, so he was the first to feel that something was wrong. He quickly raised his head and a sharp light appeared in his eyes. "Who is it?" Swoosh. A figure broke the space crack and stood directly 100 meters away from the bow of the warship. It was a middle-aged expert in his 40s. He was wearing thick armor and his face was full of arrogance. His eyes were as sharp as swords, which made people shudder. He said, "Those who trespass into the sea of the Qinji Empire will be killed without mercy." "Who are you?" Zhang Wanchang said angrily. "The dead don't need to know so much." The newcomer laughed. "Shield wall, bows and arrows." Zhang Wanchang ordered hurriedly. Dozens of soldiers from Iha Nation quickly formed a shield wall. However, the unfamiliar expert in the distance suddenly raised his arm. Divine power was enshrouded in his palm, and he suddenly struck with his palm. Bang! The main warship was the first to bear the brunt of the attack, and it was smashed into pieces along with the seawater. Oh my god! The group of soldiers from Iha Nation were scared out of their wits. but they couldn't escape. The other two warships were also destroyed by the unfamiliar expert's two subsequent palm strikes. He floated above the water, raised his hand, and grabbed the neck of a squad leader of Iha nation who had fallen into the water. He said with a smile, "Let's go. Follow me to see His Majesty. Your tongue is very precious." Chapter 721. Jejia, a bone-chilling cry rang out from the barren land. No one knew what creature it was, but there was no doubt that the beasts living in the land of exile were powerful existences that could kill without leaving a trace. This was a huge hunting ground, a publicly acknowledged hunting area for the survivors of the land of exile. In reality, the hunting ground was just a restricted area. If it wasn't for the powerful beasts living here, then the environment was rather vile. However, the wealth hidden in the hunting ground couldn't be ignored. Whether it was the beasts hunted or the spoils of war from fighting humans, it was enough to make anyone's eyes turn red. After half a month of recuperation, the bullet hole on General Tai's shoulder was nearly healed. He held his bow in his hand, and a demon spirit that had grown up a lot followed beside him. Perhaps she wasn't a girl anymore but a young girl. In just half a month the demon spirit had grown a lot taller. She was about 1.6 meters tall, about 16 years old, and the tip of her budding beauty could already be seen. Although she was only wearing a simple beast skin dress, it couldn't hide her natural beauty. The beast skin wrapped around her pair of rapidly developing peaks, ready to burst out. There were 2 daggers at her waist, the tips of the daggers moving up and down as she walked. The enchanting S-shaped curve made General Tai couldn't help but take another look. This demon spirit was indeed a monster. She was already devastatingly beautiful at such a young age. Gulp. General Tai couldn't help swallowing his saliva. The young girl walked quietly, her brows slightly knitted as she said, "Dad, this is the hunting ground?" "That's right, the hunting ground." General Tai nodded and looked around. The hunting ground was filled with wreckage from another world. There were some rusty mechs wrapped in steel and some broken ship cabins. These were all things that had been banished from another world. However, as long as they came to the land of exile, they were already seen as a pile of trash. There was no energy in the land of exile. Be it mechs or battleships, they couldn't operate anymore. Furthermore, there wasn't even a pile of bones to be seen in the hunting ground. It wasn't that no one had died here, but that they had been eaten after they died. "Be careful." General Tai suddenly stopped and looked ahead. It was a huge field surrounded by barbed wire. It was like a football field, and it was filled with weeds that were half a person's height. There were also large holes in the barbed wire. No one knew what this place was or what it was used for, but strands of energy pulsated from the weeds. General Tai could not help but frown. He opened his palms slightly, and streams of ruler's combat flames appeared. The corner of the young girl's mouth curled up, as if she had already seen through the danger. She said, "It's a wolf." "There's a patch of blood-red hair on its forehead. It's blood wolf." General Iron's body trembled. "One of the most bloodthirsty species in the entire banished lands. Looks like we've been targeted by this blood wolf. Be careful, little Yao. Blood wolves aren't radiance beasts. They're extremely powerful and their claws can tear through steel." "Got it?" The young girl's voice was very calm. She had already stepped into the weeds, and with a light push on the barbed wire, the 10-meter-long barbed wire fell down with a crash. It had already rotted into a pile of wreckage. Her beautiful eyes swept the area in front of her and she said faintly, "Dad, in that direction. Shoot an arrow to lure that beast out. I'll kill it." General Tai did not know where the young girl's confidence came from, but he knew that he would definitely reap something if he did as she said. She did not seem like a demon spirit, but more like a demonic creature that was born to hunt demon spirits. As for what exactly she was, General Tai had no idea. Swoosh. The sharp arrow wrapped in a steel arrowhead pierced through the weeds. General Tai possessed the cultivation of the Holy King realm, and his strength was vigorous. This arrow was shot over 1,000 meters, and a howl could be heard from the weeds. Following that, a powerful aura rippled out. As expected, the blood wolf had come. Rustling sounds could be heard as the weeds tumbled continuously. A huge creature pounced over, its forehead covered in blood-red fur and densely packed golden lines. The blood wolf's brown eyes were filled with killing intent as it leaped up and charged at the young girl. Swoosh. The young girl bent her body slightly, and threw the dagger in her left hand. Dang. The blood wolf's fur was surprisingly tough, and the dagger was unable to pierce through its skin. The blood wolf's momentum continued to descend, and with a roar, Its sharp claws pounced towards the opponent's chest. The young girl suddenly spun around, bringing with her a small whirlwind and a soft mist, causing the blood wolf's sharp claws to lose direction. Bang! The blood wolf's claws fell into the wilderness. The young girl took advantage of the situation and punched out with her left fist. Her fist was filled with golden energy, a power that General Tai could not see through. Boom! The small fist landed on the blood wolf's neck, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Oh no! General Tai was greatly shocked. The blood wolf's bones were exceptionally tough, like steel. This stupid demon spirit actually chose to meet force with force. Wasn't she courting death? However, the thing that broke wasn't the young girl's fist, but the blood wolf's neck. The force of the punch caused the blood wolf to roll back more than 10 meters. The young girl's eyes were shrouded in a layer of blood red. She pounced, opened her mouth and bit the blood wolf's neck. At the same time, the dagger in her right hand stabbed into the blood wolf's heart. Ayo ayo ayo! The blood wolf struggled for a few minutes before it finally stopped moving, dead on the ground. The young girl slowly stood up and wiped the blood from her mouth. In fact, she actually hated the smell of blood. There were a few frightening wounds on her shoulder, the work of the blood wolf's sharp claws. Great, well done. General Tai happily flew forward. This blood wolf was very majestic, at least 150 kilograms, enough to eat for half a month. Moreover, the blood wolf's fur could be used to ward off the cold, and its bones and claws could be made into weapons. In the land of exile, the blood wolf was a great treasure. General Tai didn't even look at the young girl. He was busy moving the spoils of war. A trace of displeasure flashed across the young girl's face. She gently knelt on the ground and stuck out her tongue to lick the wound on her arm. The wound quickly stopped bleeding and then it began to heal. General Tai grabbed the blood wolf's head and slung it over his shoulder. He said with a smile, "This is great. I didn't expect to have such a great harvest on my first trip to the hunting grounds. Little Yao, let's go back. We shouldn't stay here for long." The young girl didn't reply. She stood up and looked into the distance at the depths of the barren land surrounded by the barbed wire. "What's wrong? Is there anything else?" General Tai asked. The young girl didn't say anything. She only nodded slightly. Could there be a big deal? General Tai was overjoyed. He quickly buried the blood wolf's corpse in the bushes and pulled out a shining sword from his waist. He said, "Let's go. Let's bring Dad to have a look." Okay. In the depths of the barbed wire, a dilapidated house sat there. Perhaps it wasn't really a house but a huge shipping container. There were many holes on the outside of the container, and when the cold wind blew, it let out a ghostly howl. The metal door was ajar and it was pitch black inside. Nothing could be seen clearly. "What's wrong? Is there anything inside?" General Tai asked. The girl furrowed her brows but didn't say anything. She quickly sniffed the air with her delicate nose, and a strange smell filled her nose. It was the smell of wine. No one would have thought that there would be wine in the banished lands, and it was a very fragrant wine. Go in and take a look," General Tai said in a commanding tone. The young girl didn't retort. She reached out to push open the rusty metal door. Swoosh! The sound of wind came. It was a military saber. The young girl hurriedly retracted her hand, but it was too late. The saber was too fast and it left a shallow wound on her wrist. As her strength increased, she was no longer injured by ordinary attacks. In fact, the wound didn't even bleed. However, this wasn't the only attack. Suddenly, bolts shot out from the pitch-black house. The young girl's reaction was extremely fast. She quickly bent down and rolled on the ground. The bolts flew past her head and into the bushes, kicking up mud. That was close. Bam! The door suddenly collapsed and a short figure jumped out of the container. It was a dwarf, a human less than a meter tall. He held a shiny steel saber in his hand. It was very eye-catching. The dwarf ran very quickly. As he ran, he cursed, "Darn girl, you actually entered my domain. Just you wait. I'll kill you one day." But the dwarf only took a few steps before he suddenly couldn't move. His body was controlled by a kind of domain power. Looking up, he saw a strong man descending from the sky, waving flames in his palm. The man sneered and said, "Short winter melon, you actually dare to hurt my daughter? Are you courting death?" "You." Before the dwarf could say anything, his head suddenly flew off. General Tai's sword could split mountains, and the dwarf's cultivation was extremely low. How could he be General Tai's match? "Little witch, are you all right?" General Tai asked. The young girl got up from the ground and shook her head. Go in and see what's inside." The young girl stepped in and found that there were a few crossbows that had run out of arrows facing her. A ray of light shone in from the hole in the container, illuminating everything inside. The container was like a treasure trove in the ruins. It was filled with fine wine, and there were also rows of medicine and weapons. The dwarf had probably relied on these to survive in the hunting grounds. Otherwise, with his strength, he would have been killed long ago. On the weapons rack, a short saber that glowed faintly and had words that the young girl didn't recognize engraved on it attracted her attention. The dwarf's weapons were not ordinary sharp. The young girl immediately fell in love with it. She grabbed the short saber and hung it at her waist. At that moment, General Tai walked into the container and quickly sniffed. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. Great, this is heaven. There's wine. My God, there's actually tequila. There's even canned food. Ah, this dwarf really knows how to enjoy himself. Chapter 722. General Tai almost danced with joy. Canned food had a very long shelf life and could be stored for a very long time, and these wines were supreme treasures. Coupled with the weapons, medicines, and so on, it was like he had discovered a paradise. Unfortunately, this was a hunting ground, and there would be other hunters coming to visit. General Tai didn't feel that his Saint King realm cultivation was enough to protect these treasures, so he decided to take them back to his residence. Just like that, after 3 trips, most of the treasures were finally sent back to the cave he lived in before nightfall. After piling up a large amount of resources, the cave seemed much more crowded. General Tai found some salt and spices from the treasures, chopping off one of the blood wolf's legs and starting to cook delicious meat soup. Meanwhile, the girl continued to sit quietly on the meadow, staring at the wound on her wrist in a daze. After a long time, the fragrance of the meat soup grew stronger. Hey, little witch. General Tai suddenly looked at her and asked, "Do you drink?" The girl shook her head slowly. "You don't drink?" General Tai frowned and said, "Every night in the banished lands is extremely cold. It's impossible not to drink. This fine wine is good stuff. Not only can it ward off the cold, but it can also make a person drunk, making them forget all their worries. Come, have some with your father?" The girl shook her head. "I don't drink." "What did you say?" General Tai raised his eyebrows. "You dare to disobey even your father's words?" "I don't drink." The girl's voice was very calm, but it was unquestionable. She sat there quietly and didn't say another word. Tui, what a freak. I'm afraid she doesn't understand human language. General Tai was in a good mood, so he didn't argue with her. He filled a bowl with meat and threw it to the demon, then grabbed the wolf's leg bone and took big bites of the juicy meat. He chewed, then opened a bottle of wine and gulped it down. After taking a big gulp, he shouted, "This is great." "Ah, great." The girl didn't say a word as she watched General Tai gulp it down. In the middle of the night, the pot of meat was almost finished. Behind General Tai were 4 empty wine bottles. His face was flushed red as he leaned against the wall of the cave in a drunken stupor. He gently rubbed his stomach, his face filled with satisfaction. At this moment he glanced at the demon spirit 2 meters away. Once again he realized that this demon spirit was simply a heaven-sent beauty. Under the dim light of the bonfire, the demon spirit's exquisite face was beautiful beyond compare. Her pair of beautiful eyes were as clear as crystal. She quietly sat there with the corner of her mouth slightly raised, making her appear extremely charming. Her pure face and flirtatious figure fused together with the darkness of the night, making people unable to resist falling into a daze. "Little Yao, come to Daddy," General Tai ordered as he leaned against the wall. The girl didn't say anything and just sat quietly on the meadow. "Umph." General Tai stood up. Although he was drunk, his steps were extremely steady. He approached in a few steps and grabbed the demon spirit's wrist. His eyes flickered with a sharp light as he said, "What's wrong? Are you trying to rebel? Don't forget, if I hadn't saved you, you would have been snatched away by a hungry wolf." The demon spirit raised her head and looked at him in silence. Perhaps the demon spirit didn't know what was about to happen. General Tai looked down and saw the beast's skin covering the demon spirit's chest slightly open, revealing a captivating redness. This caused his desire to surge even more. He quickly grabbed the demon spirit's other hand as his eyes flickered with desire. "The banished land is a silent domain. The heavens must have pitied me and bestowed you to me. Since you've become my daughter, then you should let Daddy enjoy your body. Otherwise, how are we going to get through the long night? Don't resist, don't force my hand." The demon spirit calmly looked at him and said, "Daddy, are you hurting me?" "What did you say?" General Tai asked impatiently. The demon spirit's gaze was calm. Daddy said that you'll kill everyone who hurts me. And now you're hurting me. What nonsense are you talking about? General Tai grinned. I'm helping you understand the joys of being a woman. After tonight, you'll naturally understand everything. You'll realize that you'll never be able to leave Daddy again. Let go. The demon spirit's voice was very calm, but it sounded like a command. Stop struggling, it's useless. General Tai's mind was in a mess. He moved his stubbly mouth towards the girl's neck, but before he could get within 10 centimeters, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. It was the girl kicking him with all her might. Arg! General Tai retreated a few steps in pain, almost unable to straighten his back. His face was covered in beads of sweat. He suddenly pulled out the long sword at his waist and said angrily, "Little whore, I can save you, but I can also kill you." Whoosh! The sword turned into a streak of light, stabbing towards the girl's chest. However, after a clang, the sword only pierced into the rock wall. The young girl had latched onto General Tai's right arm like a phantom. Her snow-white legs abruptly stomped on the rock wall, and General Tai's arm pulled out the steel sword. "What are you trying to do?" General Tai's face paled involuntarily. With a crack, the girl's palm swept out, snapping General Tai's wrist. His entire wrist was deformed, but his hand was still holding onto the long sword. She pressed the long sword against his chest at a strange angle and slowly pushed it in, causing blood to flow out. The girl gripped General Tai's sword-wielding hand tightly and said softly, "Daddy said that he'll kill everyone who bullies me." General Tai could not move at all. He was a Holy King realm expert, but under the girl's control, he was unable to retaliate at all. Just like that, he pierced his own heart with his own sword. Clang! The blade pierced through General Tai's body and nailed him into the rock wall. Just like that, he was nailed to the wall. The girl bent down and grabbed the wild grass around the meadow to wipe the blood off her palm. She looked at General Tai's corpse with a seductive and beautiful smile. "Daddy, I'll live on well in the land of exile. I won't be bullied by anyone. Go in peace." Swoosh! He spat out a purple flame from his palm, and in the blink of an eye, the flames engulfed General Tai's corpse, reducing it to a pile of ash. Even the steel sword, which was not of a low grade, was melted. What a high-temperature flame! A blood moon hung high in the sky, causing the entire land of exile to become even more violent. Rustle! The barefooted girl walked out of the cave, stepping on the sand and stones. She looked at the blood moon and stars in the sky and could not help but sigh. "Who am I? What am I?" Roar! The roar of a wild beast came from afar. The girl grasped the hilt of the sword at her waist. With a slight force from her palm, a blood-red flame enshrouded the sword. In the blink of an eye, the steel sword made by the dwarves was burned red. But strangely, the steel sword did not show any signs of melting. Instead, it made a clanging sound. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of cannon fire rang out continuously in the northern region of the Tongtian province. Purplish-red mushroom clouds rose into the sky, causing the huge blue canopy to buzz. After more than 10 consecutive cannon attacks, the canopy finally ran out of energy and collapsed. The energy barrier that had separated humans and demons for tens of thousands of years had finally disappeared under the iron hooves of war. The bombardment of the magic crystal cannons brought with it streams of sharp air currents, causing the imperial war flag in the Longdan army camp to flutter. Everyone raised their shields to resist the impact of the air currents. Wei Chou rode on his warhorse and formed an astral wall in front of him. He narrowed his eyes and said, "The canopy is gone. An era is coming to an end." Sidu Sin gripped his sword. King's combat flames surged into his arms. He smiled and said, "Give the order. I'll lead my brothers and kill our way in." "Don't be in such a hurry." Wei Chou waved his hand and said, "Order the heavy artillery unit to move 5 kilometers forward, and then we'll move. If we can flatten the entire Tongtian Gorge without losing a single soldier, why not?" "Yes, I understand." Battle banners fluttered in the wind as they entered the Heaven's Gorge in an orderly formation. Hundreds of savage tribe soldiers pushed the magic crystal cannons into the Heaven's Gorge, emitting an unpleasant sound as the cannons rumbled. And in the distance, nearly 10 miles away, the demon army was already waiting in formation. Qian Feng was not willing to give up on the Heaven's Gorge. There were even huge black shadows slowly moving in the sky. They were giant flying snakes. "They've sent out the flying snakes." Sidu Sin swallowed his saliva. Wei Chou nodded and waved his hand, saying, "Heavy artillery battalion, dispatch the gooseneck cannons to defend against the enemy. The giant flying snakes must be killed 2 kilometers away." Yes. Small magic crystal cannons were pushed out one after another. They weighed less than a third of the magic crystal cannons. Moreover, the cannons were extremely long, rising into the sky like a goose's neck. These were magic crystal cannons modified by Qin Ziling. They were specially designed for the giant flying snakes and had a firing range of 3 kilometers. Moreover, their accuracy was much better than ordinary magic crystal cannons. Lin Muyu would never fight a battle she was not confident of winning. If she did not know all this, she would not have mobilized her troops so easily. At this time, the dragon-shaped island was also busy. Warships gathered at the port, and the neighing of warhorses could be heard from the land. Densely packed soldiers carried armor, weapons, and other strategic resources to the ships. Smoke rose from the open ground in the depths of the island, and anyone could tell that a great battle was imminent. In the Iha country's palace, Qin Yi's face was pale. He held the handle of the king's blade and said, "Is everything ready?" "Don't worry, Commander." Ding Shi, dressed in military attire, knelt on one knee and said, "This subordinate will soon leave the dragon-shaped island with General Long. I hope that Commander will take care of himself." Qin Yi's expression was somewhat reluctant. He moved his aged feet down the steps and held Ding Shi's arms. His voice trembled as he said, "Old friend, it's been so many years. I know you hate war, but I've ordered you to participate time and time again. As long as this time we can return to Lingnan, I won't force you to do anything you don't want." Ding Shi smiled slightly. "Commander, save these words for the future. I don't even know if I can return alive." Qin Yi. At this time, a messenger's voice came from outside the palace. "Commander, someone has sent a map. He said that he must present it to you." "What map?" Chapter 723. In the sky above dragon-shaped island, 2 figures stood thousands of meters high. The people on the ground couldn't see them at all, but they could see everything on dragon-shaped island. They were none other than Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi, who had just returned from the East Sea. "Do you think Qin Yi will give up?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "I don't know," Lin Muyu frowned. "First of all, Qin Yi might not believe our map. Second, Qin Yi is old. Returning to his homeland is his biggest dream. He might not be able to resist this temptation." "Xiaoxi, have you really informed Minyulin's army?" "Yes." Tang Xiaoxi was a little worried. "Mu, I actually don't understand. Why did we tell the Iha nation about the celestial pole continent? I'm afraid only the 2 of us know about this in the entire Shattered Cauldron realm. Why did we tell the Iha nation instead of letting the Empire take precautions?" Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Regardless of whether what the people on the merchant ship said is true or not, the existence of the celestial pole continent is already inevitable. The Iha nation is on dragon-shaped island, which is located in the east of Lingdong province. If the celestial pole continent really attacks, dragon-shaped island will probably be the first to bear the brunt. At that time, Long Qianlin and Ding Shi will become the first line of defense for the humans of the Shattered Cauldron realm. I don't want them to die in vain. A day ago, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi had found a cargo ship that had gotten lost on the sea in the East Sea. From there, they learned about the tip of the iceberg of the celestial pole continent. It was a plane that was completely different from the Shattered Cauldron realm. Furthermore, it was also a powerful enemy in the future. The existence of the celestial pole continent made Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi confused, let alone others. "I really hope the people on that cargo ship are lying to us," Tang Xiaoxi said softly. "The possibility isn't high," Lin Muyu said with a frown. "If that's the case, the Qin Empire will be in imminent danger." "Yeah." Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, "For now, we can only hope that the Longdan army camp can quickly eliminate the devil race and sweep away the scourge of the devil race. Then the whole empire can work together to resist the upcoming war. If it wasn't for the fact that I had to quickly return to set up a defense, I really wanted to go to the celestial pole continent and see what that continent, which is on the same plane as us, looks like." Tang Xiaoxi remained silent. In the palace hall of the dragon-shaped island, a simple map was unfolded. Qin Yi, Long Qianlin, Marquis Sunset Manning, Ding Shi, and the others were looking at it together. "How is this possible?" Man Ning wriggled his chubby palm, took the wine cup from the waiter and said, "To the east of the dragon-shaped island is an endless sea. For tens of thousands of years, I've never heard of another continent. How is this possible?" Qin Yi narrowed his eyes and said, "General Long, this map was sent by a mysterious person. Do you think the celestial pole continent really exists?" Long Qianlin cupped his fists and said, "Commander-in-Chief, let's not talk about whether this celestial pole continent really exists or not. However, the map's records are reasonable and based on evidence. It even marks the military strength of the three empires in the celestial pole continent. I think we have to guard against it. Ding Shi stretched out his palm and stroked the rough map. The figures on it were just drawn. He thought for a while and read the words on it, saying, "The total area of the celestial pole continent is more than 7 times that of the Shattered Cauldron realm. It is ruled by 3 empires. Among them, the Tianji Empire is the strongest, with 800,000 elite troops. The Celestial Empire has the largest territory, occupying 40% of the continent. Its 6 major armies have a total military strength of 1.5 million. The Blackstone Empire has the smallest territory and the smallest population, but it also has 500,000 elite troops. If what is recorded on this map is true, I'm afraid that the doomsday has come for both the Iha Empire and the Qin Empire." Qin Yi said, "Now that our 3 armies are on standby, are we going to attack the Lingang province or not? If we miss this opportunity to strike with Qianfeng, I'm afraid there won't be a next time." Qin Huan said, "Father, don't think so much. Let's attack. This is a great opportunity for us to take revenge. The majority of the Longdan army camp's troops have already entered the Heavenly Gorge. The Lingang province and the Lingdong province are both empty. Our 200,000 troops are enough to wipe them out." "What happens after wiping them out?" Ding Shi frowned and said, "We and the Empire will both suffer heavy losses. At that time, if the Celestial Pole continent really starts a war, how are we going to contend against them?" Qin Huan's face was filled with disdain. He laughed loudly and said, "Commander Ding is indeed old. A groundless map is enough to stop you in your tracks. With your courage, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to lead the Iha Empire's warriors back to their homeland." Long Qianlin was stunned. Qin Huan was openly provoking Ding Shi like this. How could this old general endure it? "Young Highness, we need to consider this matter at length." "What? Is Commander Long afraid too?" Qin Huan said indifferently. "Not afraid but worried." Long Qianlin said, "We've sent out so many fast ships to search for new land in the Eastern Sea region, but not a single one has returned. What does this mean? If it weren't for the powerful sea fleets in the distant sea region, I wouldn't be able to provide a reasonable explanation for this matter. Being afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind, how are you going to restore the Iha Empire?" Qin Huan's expression was extremely unsightly. He was in the pro-war faction. Being the young highness of a mere dragon-shaped island obviously couldn't be compared to being the young highness of the Lingdong. "Are we going to fight or not?" Marquis Man Ning narrowed his eyes. "I think it's better to let the commander decide." Qin Yi sighed helplessly and waved his hand. "Forget it. Since the 2 marshals have no intention to fight, let's just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Hopefully Qianfeng can consume more of the empire's military power." Ding Shi and Long Qianlin glanced at each other in silence. They looked at the map in front of them with ashen faces. 3 days later, the devil race retreated step by step. More than half of the Heavenly Gorge was already under the control of the Longdan army camp. Lin Muyu left Tang Xiaoxi and Ouyang Yan to guard the Longdan army camp. She had to go to the Eastern Sea region to take a look. The existence of the Celestial Pole continent was like a nightmare tormenting him. The Shattered Cauldron realm hadn't been unified yet, and a new powerful enemy had appeared out of nowhere. He secretly lamented his bitter fate. He originally thought that he would be able to return with beauties after fighting for 10 years in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Now, it seemed that he would have to fight for another 10 years. Moreover, the outcome was unpredictable. The unknown enemy was really too powerful. Whoosh. After flying non-stop for nearly a day, Lin Muyu flew like a sharp arrow with the power to split the waves. She sped across the sea surface. After a careful calculation, she had flown for about 2,000 kilometers. She could already see ships in the distance. Furthermore, the fluttering flags were completely different from those of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Whoosh. With a sway of her body, she soared into the sky and hid among the lingering clouds. Overlooking the sea, a fleet came into view. It was a fleet consisting of at least 50 warships. The leading warship was nearly 200 meters long. Furthermore, it was a fortress ship, and the number of soldiers it carried was definitely not small. Furthermore, there was a huge creature on the deck of the fortress ship. It was a huge lizard with wings and red scales all over its body. Lin Muyu's heart sank. A word was on the verge of coming out of her mouth. Western Dragon? What kind of existence was this celestial pole continent? The flag fluttered in the sea breeze. It was a war flag with red clouds on it. Lin Muyu didn't know which empire it belonged to. She knew almost nothing about this place. She didn't care about that anymore. She had to understand this place first. Lin Muyu's heart was as clear as a mirror. The people of the Shattered Cauldron realm didn't know about the existence of the Celestial Pole continent, and the people of the Celestial Pole continent definitely didn't know about the existence of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Whoever understood the opponent first would have a greater advantage. At night, in a tavern in a small city near the sea in the Celestial Pole continent, a blue-clothed dancer swayed her enchanting body and looked at the customers in the tavern in a licentious manner. She sang an unbearable song, and customers would throw copper coins or even silver coins onto the stage from time to time. There were even bold customers who walked up to her and struck up a conversation. "How much can I pay for you to appear on my bed tonight?" The dancer smiled and didn't say anything. In an inconspicuous corner of the tavern, a young man dressed in a dark blue robe sat there quietly. He held a huge bamboo cup and drank the malt wine inside. To be honest, the wine in the Celestial Pole continent was far inferior to that of the Empire. The tavern was the place where one could understand a plane the best. Lin Muyu had been here for half a day and had a slight understanding of this place. This was just a small city in the Tianji Empire. The flags of those warships she saw during the day were the flags of the Tianji Empire. The emperor of the Tianji Empire was called Baiming Yuan, so this empire belonged to the Baiming clan. The Tianji Empire was very powerful. At least, that was what their people thought. "I'm the man who's going to become the sacred martial god." A young and tender voice came from afar. Lin Muyu raised her head and saw a young and tender face. It was a young man who was about 17 or 18 years old, but he had an unruly look on his face. "Sacred martial god? With just you?" A scorching slap landed on the young man's face. A person who looked like a mercenary stepped on the young man and pressed him down hard a few times. He said, "In the past tens of thousands of years, there have only been 5 sacred martial gods in the Empire. Who do you think you are? You want to become a sacred martial god? Wipe my boots clean first, you good-for-nothing who has high expectations but low ability." Bullying was the same in every plane. Lin Muyu didn't meddle in other people's business and continued to drink. At the same time, she learned some things about the cultivation world in the Celestial Pole continent from the mercenaries' conversations. The classification of strength in the Celestial Pole continent was very clear. The strongest person was called the Sacred Martial God, who was at least at the Divine Emperor realm. There were more than 2 sacred martial gods in the whole continent, which was very terrifying. Next were the Sacred Martial Kings and Sacred Martial Venerables, who had the strength of Divine Kings and Divine Venerables. Then came the Sacred Martial Warriors. The Sacred Martial Warriors were experts with the cultivation of the sacred region. They were only legends in small towns like this. Many people had never even seen the legendary Sacred Martial Warriors. The Tianji Empire had a total of 5 Sacred Martial Gods, 11 Sacred Martial Kings, 112 Sacred Martial Venerables, and more than 2,000 Sacred Martial Warriors. Their strength was not ordinary and terrifying. The more Lin Muyu heard, the colder she felt. Did the Shattered Cauldron realm really want to go to war with such a strong enemy? Chapter 724. "Hi, brother." A slightly sharp voice sounded in her ear. When Lin Muyu turned around, she saw a young man limping over with a crutch in his hand. He was about 25 years old, wearing white linen clothes with several cloth bags hanging on his waist. His face was full of stubble. He probably didn't have time to take care of it, but the light in his eyes told everyone not to underestimate this lame young man. He sat opposite Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Only if you buy me a drink, I can help you read your face." Face. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "Man, give him a glass of wine." Dang. A full glass of barley wine fell in front of the cripple. He didn't rush to drink it. Instead, he took a deep breath and said, "The fragrance of malt wine is really as charming as a girl in the wilderness." As he said this, he drank a big mouthful of wine. His stubble was stained with wine, which looked very unhygienic. Lin Muyu didn't care about this. She just smiled and asked, "Now can you tell me? How is my face?" The huckster, squinted his eyes and carefully looked at Lin Muyu. He said, "Brother, although you are handsome and have an extraordinary appearance, your eyebrows are dark. I am afraid that you will be in big trouble in the next few days. If you keep talking, I guarantee that you will be in big trouble now." As a god, Lin Muyu naturally didn't believe in this kind of fortune-telling. In any case, he was also a god who could listen to the prayers of the people. What fortune-telling? Mortals just believed in it. The killer flashed through Lin Muyu's palm, but the cripple was scared out of his wits. The young man in front of him was obviously not as simple as he looked. The momentum that he emitted was simply suffocating. Maybe he was a young master from the imperial capital who came to this poor place just to travel around the continent. Also, the golden light that flashed through his eyes might be a monster. What is your name? Lin Muyu didn't make things difficult for him. Instead, he began to ask questions. He needed someone to tell him everything about the Qingji Empire and the Celestial Pole continent. Lu Sanpao, people call me Lu Bai. Lu Bai's entire body was trembling, and his voice was trembling as he said, "This kid can be considered somewhat famous in Clear Desolate City, some people call me Divine Image." Lin Muyu didn't care about these things. Her expression calmed down a little and she said with a smile, "Well, Brother Lini, I've been cultivating in the deep mountains with my family for many years, so I don't know much about the outside world. Can you tell me something about the Qingji Empire and the mainland? I'll treat you to a drink until you're satisfied." Lu Bai was taken aback. It had been a long time since someone had been so extravagant as to treat him to a drink. Moreover, looking at the appearance of this kid in front of him, he really did seem to be a rash young man who had just come out from the depths of the mountains to cultivate. In an instant, Lu Bai's expression became arrogant. He placed one leg on the bench and said arrogantly, "Since that's the case, then little brother, you should listen to your big brother's words. Buddy, give me another jar of wine. I want a drink to my heart's content." "Lu Bai, did you bring enough money?" "Don't worry, I met a benefactor today." A jar of wine was placed firmly in the center of the table. Lu Bai pulled a drumstick from the roasted chicken and gnawed on it until his mouth was greasy. He said, "Brother, since you have cultivated in the mountains for many years, you must have some skills. However, there are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the Celestial Pole continent. Even if you have some skills, you must be careful. Otherwise, you may lose your life because of your rashness one day. This is my first advice to you. Be careful when you encounter problems. Remember, you can't force yourself." Lin Muyu deeply agreed and nodded, "Yes, and then?" Lu Bai wiped the grease from the corner of his mouth and continued, "If you want to talk about the Celestial Pole continent, this continent is really big. If you run at full speed from the west to the eastern border of the continent, it would take as long as 2 months. Furthermore, there are a total of 5 powerful and invincible forces on the continent. They are divided into 3 great empires and 2 great tribes." "What do you mean?" "The 3 empires are the Qingji Empire, the Celestial Empire, and the Blackstone Empire. They fight every year, but they have never been able to determine the winner in more than 1,000 years. More than 3,000 years ago, there was a supreme overlord who once unified the Celestial Pole continent, but in less than 100 years his empire collapsed into 3 kingdoms. Among the 3 empires, our Qingji Empire is the strongest. One of the 3 sacred sects in the cultivation world, the Qingji sect, is located in our Qingji Empire. In terms of national strength, the Celestial Empire is second, and the Blackstone Empire is the worst, but we are not too inferior." "Tell me about the cultivation world. What's the matter with the 3 sacred sects?" Lin Muyu asked with a frown. "In fact, it's very simple. It's just like a sect. The continent is divided into several levels according to the strength of the sections. The first is the sacred sect, the second is the king sect, the third is the heavenly sect, and the fourth is the earth sect. The whole Celestial Pole continent is divided into 3 king sects, which are the Qingji sect, the Qingjue sect, and the Thunder Flame sect. Next are the 7 great sects, 59 heavenly sects, and more than 3,000 earth sects. Some of these sects have only a few people, while some have tens of thousands of people. It's impossible to count them in detail. It's also because these sects constantly provide excellent martial artists for the various empires that the cultivation world of the Celestial Pole continent can continue to prosper and even be protected by the immortal realm." "Protected by the immortal realm?" Lin Muyu frowned. "What does that mean?" Lu Bai smiled. "I'm not very clear about these supernatural things, although I can see through the mysteries of heaven and know about yin and yang." "Stop bragging. It's too serious." Cough cough. Lu Bai could also see that Lin Muyu was not an ordinary person. He smiled and said, "The people of the Celestial Pole continent have passed down legends from generation to generation. It's said that the immortal realm once sent gods down to the mortal world to teach the people of the continent how to make fire from wood and how to farm, fish, and weave. Then they imparted martial arts to some people with aptitude, allowing humans to establish a foothold in this world filled with ferocious beasts and demonic spirits and become the rulers." "Farm, fish, and weave?" Lin Muyu looked at the clothes of the people around him. Most of them were wearing cloth clothes and a small number of mercenaries were wearing coarse hemp clothes. In terms of weaving skills, the celestial pole continent was far inferior to the shattered cauldron realm. He smiled slightly and didn't say much. Lu Bai didn't see any clues and continued to speak eloquently. Next, let's talk about our Qingji Empire. The Qingji Empire ranks second in terms of territory, but in terms of population, prosperity of commerce, and strength of military force, it is deservedly number one. His Majesty is wise and mighty, and his power is everywhere. Crown Prince Hai has extraordinary cultivation and will be the future leader of the empire. Together with the invincible commander, Baiming Huan, it's enough for the Qingji Empire to stand tall in the northwest of the continent and be called an overlord. By the way, you just said that there are demonic spirits in the celestial pole continent. What's going on? You actually don't know about demonic spirits? Lu Bai turned pale with fright and said, I really don't know what your master taught you. If a cultivator doesn't hunt demonic spirits, how can he prove his strength? What exactly is a demonic spirit? Lin Muyu asked a little awkwardly. Lu Bai stroked his beard and said, the essence of a demonic spirit is a kind of monster. A demonic spirit with high cultivation can change into a human form and take human lives. There are many demonic spirits in the celestial pole continent, and they are also the targets of various forces. However, demonic spirits are too strong and many times the cultivators are hunted down instead. In short, when you meet a demonic spirit, you must be careful. As he spoke, Lu Bai's eyes shone brightly and he said, demonic spirits are divided into 10 grades, from the lowest grade of 10th to the strongest grade of 1st grade. The 1st grade is called the Demon Emperor, the 2nd grade is called the Demon King, and the 3rd grade is called the Demon Venerable. Little brother, if you meet one of the first 3 grades of demonic spirit, no matter how profound your cultivation is, listen to me and run for your life. If you're lucky, you can marry a wife and have children. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll die without a burial place. Why will I die without a burial place? Lu Bai smiled. It's very simple. Low-grade demonic spirits like to devour human flesh and blood, completely devouring the human. High-grade demonic spirits are even more cruel. They know how to refine and absorb the essence from the human body. In the end, you will be turned into ashes. It is said that the souls of those who are eaten by the Demon Emperor and Demon King will be eaten as well. Lin Muyu was stunned and didn't say anything. Lu Bai thought that he was afraid and smiled. However, little brother, you don't have to worry. Demonic spirits like to live in remote places. Generally speaking, a city like the one we are in right now has a population of over 100,000. Most of the time, demonic spirits won't come here. If there are too many people, the demonic spirits will also feel afraid. Besides, every province in the empire has Lord Dragon Rider patrolling. If a demonic spirit appears in a city with a population of over 100,000, it will be hunted down. We just have to focus on farming, fishing, and hunting. Dragon Rider? Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. Her mind recalled the huge dragon on the warship she saw on the sea surface. That's right. Lu Bai chuckled and said, they are known as the most powerful army in the celestial pole continent, the Dragon Riders. Every empire has trained a sufficient number of Dragon Riders to deal with the upcoming war. The Qingji Empire's Dragon Rider Legion is very prosperous. During peaceful times, their main mission is to hunt demonic spirits everywhere. Although I have never seen a Dragon Rider, the prestige of the Dragon Riders is known by everyone in the celestial pole continent. As he spoke, Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu as if he was looking at a freak and said, you are really strange. You don't even know about the Dragon Rider Legion. I really don't know how you grew up. Lin Muyu smiled. She felt that she had more or less understood everything, so she took out a Jinxing coin from her pocket. She gently rubbed it between her palms, and the Jinxing coin immediately turned into a piece of gold. She tossed it to Lu Bai and said, here, thank you for telling me so much. I don't have anything to thank you for. Is Jinxing. Oh, I mean gold, take it as a token of appreciation. Gold? Lu Bai's eyes instantly lit up. He put it in his mouth and took a bite. He was ecstatic. It really is gold. Little brother, you are indeed not an ordinary person. Ah, thank you so much. Just as Lin Muyu stood up and was about to leave, an invisible force suddenly descended from the sky. The entire tavern immediately fell silent. Everyone was already unable to move. A cold voice came from outside. The Qingji Dragon Rider Legion is here on a spirit hunting mission. Those unrelated to this matter, scram immediately. Demonic spirit. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. However, Lu Bai's face was already pale. It's over. We encountered a demonic spirit. the God Cultivation domain will start charging fees again in October. I hope everyone can make a VIP subscription to support Yi Zeech. Chapter 725. On the stage of the tavern, the blue-clothed dancer suddenly stopped dancing. Her beautiful face turned sinister. Her skin suddenly split open from her head, revealing new skin filled with scales in front of everyone's eyes. This caused the guests who had fantasies about her to be frightened out of their wits. This beautiful dancer is actually a high-ranked demon spirit? The demon spirit's body grew larger and larger, expanding to a height of 2 meters. Its upper body had 4 arms filled with sharp claws, and its legs turned into countless feelers to support its body. Its face was extremely ugly and full of scabs like a toad. Looked very scary. Shio, with a wave of its arm, a few heads flew. Demon spirits never asked for a reason when killing. Heavens, it's a demon venerable. So scary, it's a demon venerable. Someone exclaimed exaggeratedly. Instantly, Lu Bai was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Just at this moment, a huge force descended from the sky. Bang! Its sword chi. This tyrannical sword chi split the tavern apart and fell straight towards the demon spirit's head. Wah! The demon spirit let out a shriek. A blood-red shield appeared above its head and actually blocked the sword chi. The over 10-meter-long sword chi nearly split the tavern into 2. The guests who couldn't dodge in time were directly hit by the sword chi. Under the powerful airflow, their bodies turned into a mist of blood. It was a tragic sight to behold. In the sky, a bright moon illuminated the earth. A huge creature spread its wings and flew tens of meters in the sky. On the back of the dragon sat a person wearing a python armor. The sharp sword in his hand was emitting a cold light under the moonlight. That sword strike just now was given by him. It's just that. The Dragon Knight didn't seem to care about the lives of the commoners in the process of hunting demon spirits. Lin Muyu involuntarily grabbed onto Lu Bai's collar and threw him behind her. She used her body to protect this scammer. At the same time, she restrained her power and used the Spirit Meridian technique to seal the overflowing Sovereign God's power. This way, others wouldn't be able to sense his power. After all, the purpose of Lin Muyu's trip was to understand the Heavenly Pole continent and not to attract the attention of the experts of the Heavenly Pole continent. In the sky, the sound of the huge dragon flapping its wings was very intense. Behind the Dragon Knight, a few huge black shadows appeared. It seemed that in order to deal with this demon venerable, they had sent out more than one Dragon Knight. It's the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders. He's a Dragon Rider General. Someone yelled. Dragon Riders were the minor leaders of a Dragon Rider army. Every Dragon Rider could command 10 Dragon Riders at most, but there were only a little more than 200 Dragon Riders in the entire Qinji Empire, so the noble status of a Dragon Rider was obvious. Lu Bai's entire body trembled, but his eyes were fixed on the Dragon Rider General in the air. He said, This Lord Dragon Rider General is actually a sacred martial king. I've seen a sacred martial king. How did you know it was the Saint Martial King? Lin Muyu was also affected by the aftermath of the sword chi. He could feel that the Dragon Rider General's sword had 37 stacks of power, which meant that he had the cultivation of 37 heavenly grottos, the first level of the God King realm. Didn't you see? He's wearing 4 golden emblems on his chest. The 3 empires will bestow emblems to the experts in their territories. 5 gold stars is the Saint Martial God, 4 gold stars is the Saint Martial King, and 3 gold stars is the Saint Martial Venerable. He has 4, so he's naturally the Saint Martial King. Lin Muyu couldn't help but sigh inwardly. His luck was really good. It was his first time coming to the Celestial Pole continent, and he actually encountered such a good show. Watching a Saint Martial King duel with a demon venerable. Interesting. In the sky, the Saint Martial King, who was riding on the dragon's back, said coldly, Dragon Rider General Su Chuan has led the 11th squad of the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders here to hunt demon spirits. Unrelated people, leave immediately. Otherwise, if you're accidentally injured, the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders will have nothing to do with it. In the tavern, the diners were desperately trying to escape. However, the door of the tavern had already collapsed, so they could only jump out of the window. Lu Bai was also anxious. He looked behind him and saw a wall. The nearest window was only 3 steps away from the demon venerable. He believed that the demon venerable wouldn't let him leave. What should I do? What should I do? We have to leave too. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He turned around and punched the wall. With a boom, a hole appeared in the wall. He grabbed onto Lu Bai's collar and flew out, bringing him to hide in the fodder warehouse at the back of the tavern. The pile of fodder was used to feed the horses of the diners. The horse feeder had long escaped, leaving behind an empty fodder warehouse. Hide well. Lin Muyu raised his hand and threw Lu Bai into the pile of fodder. He then leaped up and sat on a bare wall, leaning against the pile of fodder to watch the show. This, little brother, aren't you afraid of death? Lu Bai poked his head out and asked. Just hide well. Don't worry about me. Look at you, Lu Bai muttered. In his eyes, what Lin Muyu was doing now was simply courting death. However, Lin Muyu's heart was as clear as a mirror. The strength of the demon venerable was equivalent to that of a 15,000-year-old spiritual beast. He could kill her within 5 moves. As for the dragon rider in the air, although he was one of the sacred martial kings of the Qinji Empire, to be honest, the strength of his godhead was too weak. It could only be classified as a mortal's godhead. Although Lin Muyu was only at the 21st layer of paradise, if it was a one-on-one fight, even if he couldn't win, he wouldn't be defeated. However, this dragon rider had brought 10 dragon riders with him. Therefore, Lin Muyu restrained his aura and just acted as a spectator. It was better not to intervene in this dispute if possible. Roar! The demon venerable roared into the sky. Waves of red air rippled out. It was actually a kind of domain, crushing down in all directions. The tavern diners who didn't have time to escape exploded one after another. The scene was too horrible to look at. Demon spirits were indeed not good things. Their speed of killing was even faster than that of the dragon rider. Lin Muyu watched silently, but she felt a little happy in her heart. In the celestial pole continent, the dragon rider was like the demon spirit. In their eyes, the lives of mortals were like grass and ants. However, it was different in the Shattered Cauldron world. A human life was a human life. At least according to the law of the Qin Empire, killing people required paying with one's life. Those who won the hearts of the people would win the world. It seemed that this was the strongest force that the Shattered Cauldron world could contend with. Roar! The sovereign demon's body grew larger, and it suddenly soared into the sky, clashing with the dragon knight. Sword light and blood light intertwined, and the sovereign demon's accumulated power shot out again and again. However, the dragon knight seemed to have become one with the dragon, and it was actually able to remain unmoving in the air. Every time the sovereign demon attacked, it would either be slashed or blocked. The other 10 dragon riders were actually indifferent. They spread out and formed a huge circle around the dragon rider. Other than supporting the dragon rider, they didn't do anything. Presumably, these dragon riders had absolute confidence in their captain. The sword light rose and waves of divine power rushed out. The demon venerable finally spat out a mouthful of blood. Its body fell into the tavern. The powerful force hit the surroundings, and the entire tavern immediately turned into ruins. Lin Muyu watched quietly. She could see through the divine power of the dragon rider, but she couldn't see why he could maintain such a harmonious momentum with the giant dragon. It was as if the man and the dragon were just a giant. The demon venerable's attacks were all useless, and he was even seriously injured. Very quickly, blood splattered everywhere. The demon spirit's entire arm was cut off by the dragon rider's sword. Roar, roar, roar! The deafening roar shook heaven and earth, and the commoners of the small city around the tavern had already fled for their lives like a tide. Only a few youngsters who harbored dreams and wanted to become dragon riders hid in the distance, watching the scene of a dragon rider hunting down a demonic spirit. In the midst of the hoarse roar, the demon venerable was covered in blood. Waves of bloody energy revolved around it. At this moment, a golden light suddenly shot out from its head, turning into layers of golden barriers that surrounded its body. Oh no! A dragon rider wearing silver armor hurriedly said, Lord Su Chuan, this demon spirit is about to evolve. God damn it, why did it have to evolve now of all times? Su Chuan's expression was fierce. Humph, if it wasn't because it knew it was about to evolve, this demon spirit wouldn't have the guts to enter Clear Desolation City. Get out of the way. Even if it evolves, I will still kill it. Otherwise, how would I have the face to go back and see His Majesty? Alright, we'll guard the formation for you. The 10 dragon riders spread out, standing several hundred meters away from the battlefield. One of the dragon riders could even see Lin Muyu on top of the wall. He couldn't help but frown but didn't say anything. If this kid wants to die, then let him die. He can't blame anyone else. Not long after, the golden light surrounding the demon spirit dissipated, and a new arm grew out. Its body became shorter and rounder, but the power within its body increased by a large amount. The demon spirit in front of him was already a third-tier demon king. Come, you bastard. Sichuan was still riding on the neck of the dragon rider, an excited smile on his face. To be able to kill a demon king is an honor for the Qingji dragon riders, and this honor will also belong to him. Brr. The demon spirit suddenly shot out, filling the sky with bloody light. Bang. Amidst the loud noise, a dazzling golden light blossomed in the sky. This was the result of the collision between the god power and the powerful demon power. As the dragon rider wailed, the dragon rider's mount was injured. Two of the scales on the dragon rider's neck were torn open, and fresh blood flowed out. Sichuan wasn't in a good state either. A bloody wound appeared on his arm. The attack of a demon king was indeed extraordinary. However, the demon king seemed to be in an even worse state. A 1-meter-long wound had been cut open on its abdomen, and fresh blood was flowing out. Brr. During the second attack, the dragon rider soared in the sky, and the dragon rider's sword energy scattered between the heavens and the earth. This battle seemed like it was going to destroy the world. After the 23rd attack, the demon king's internal organs were finally about to spill out. The dragon rider was covered in blood, and the dragon rider's mount was also covered in wounds. Lord Sichuan, we will help you. A dragon rider shouted. Oh. Sichuan frowned and said, this is a demon king. Don't come over. I don't want any dragon rider from the Qingji Empire to die here. Yes. Die. The roar reverberated in the sky of the small city, followed by the roar of a demon spirit. Finally, the demon king fell down softly. Pata. Sichuan descended from the sky. After landing, he stabbed the demon king's head with his sword, piercing the brain until it spilled out. Then he raised his head in satisfaction and said, all right, mission accomplished. As he spoke, Sichuan looked at the fodder warehouse at the side. He couldn't help but sneer and said, kid, have you seen enough? You have the guts to watch me kill the demon king. I've been discovered. Chapter 726. It's over. Lu Bai's face was deathly pale. Even though the heavenly jade dragon riders were known as the protectors of the empire, in the end, those dragon riders were still lofty existences. Commoners simply did not have the qualifications to come into contact with them. Now that Sichuan had discovered that the rash youngster was peeking at them, the situation might immediately develop in the worst possible direction. Who would have thought that what left Lu Bai surprised was that Lin Muyu was not afraid at all. Instead, she stood on the broken wall and looked straight at Sichuan. Her gaze was completely devoid of fear as she said, you are a dragon rider? I am. So what? Sichuan coldly looked at her. Many thanks for killing this demon for clear desolate city. Otherwise, who knows how many commoners it would have harmed. Lin Muyu's tone was extremely calm. Sichuan seemed to never smile. His face was covered in frost as he said, this is our duty. Brat, hurry up and leave this place. There might be other demon spirits, but with your strength? He looked at Lin Muyu with contempt. Under his spiritual perception, he could only see that there was a bit of true energy floating within Lin Muyu's body. He couldn't see a star and a half of divine force or king's battle flame. It was clear that this was someone who had only cultivated true energy. As such, he smiled and said, I'm afraid that you won't even be able to see the demon spirit before you'll be devoured. Many thanks. Lin Muyu cupped her hands and smiled. She flipped over and left the top of the wall. She grabbed Lu Bai and disappeared into the night without looking back. A dragon rider took out a rope and firmly tied the demon spirit's corpse to the dragon's leg. Then he respectfully said, Lord Sichuan, that youngster just now, what happened? It's nothing. Sichuan nodded. After muttering to himself for a moment he said, although this youngster's cultivation is insignificant, his aura doesn't lose to any sacred martial king. How strange. He doesn't seem to be from the Qingji Empire either. Could it be someone from the Celestial Empire or the Blackstone Empire? Ah, my lord, why do you care so much? You said it yourself, he's just an insignificant brat. Maybe he just worships the dragon knights. There are countless young people on the continent who dream of becoming a dragon knight. He's just one of them. Sichuan took another look at Lin Muyu and Lu Bai's silhouettes in the dark, then said, let's go back to the imperial capital to report on the completion of the mission, and also to see if the tongue captured by the marshal has confessed anything. Yes. One after another, the dragons spread their wings and abruptly soared into the sky. The people in the small city all looked up, looking at the miraculous existence that they would never be able to see in their lives. Dragon riders were the most respected existence and symbol of power in the entire celestial pole continent. Just the training of a dragon rider would cost more than 100,000 gold coins every year. Including the food and maintenance of the dragons, if one wanted to raise a dragon rider, it would cost nearly 300,000 gold coins every year. This amount of money was enough to cover half a year's worth of taxes and clear Desolation City. Young hero, you're too bold. You actually dare to speak to the Lord Dragon Rider like that. Do you know that the Lord Dragon Rider can blow you apart with a single breath? Even a single fart can kill you. You're too rash. In the night, Lu Bai continued to talk. Lin Wuyu frowned. The scene of Su Chuan killing the demon spirit was still playing in her mind. Man and dragon could reach the realm of becoming one. Every time Su Chuan waved his sword, the dragon would change its flying direction and trajectory, increasing the power of its master's attack by a lot. Furthermore, it was perfectly dodging attacks. Could it be that the people of the celestial pole continent also practiced beast-taming techniques? It seemed that this was the only explanation. Furthermore, this was a beast-taming technique that was even more refined than the spiritual communication technique. His brows furrowed even tighter. These dragon riders were known as the pride of the celestial pole continent. In the future, they would definitely be a huge problem for the Shattered Cauldron realm. Furthermore, from Su Chuan's attitude, the dragon riders of the celestial pole continent were arrogant and did not care about others at all. If they were to find out that there was another world on the other side of the continent, the consequences would be obvious. The dragon riders that filled the sky would engulf the entire Shattered Cauldron realm like a plague. And what did the Shattered Cauldron realm rely on? The only few gods or the Longdan army camp in the magic crystal cannons. When he thought of this, Lin Wuyu could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Hey kid, what are you thinking about? Why are you ignoring me? Don't you know that this is impolite? Lu Bai carefully walked along the rocky mountain path in the forest. This clear, desolate city was connected to the mountain range. In fact, it could not be considered a city anymore. It could only be considered a town nestled in the embrace of the mountain range. Only then did Lin Wuyu turn around and smile guiltily. Sorry, Bai. I was thinking about something just now. What were you thinking about? Nothing. You clearly don't want to say it, yet you're still making excuses like this. I'm not making excuses. I just don't want to say it. Tui? You bastard, I'm about to die from anger. A faint golden luster flashed past Lin Wuyu's eyes. He looked at the mountain path in front of him and said, Bai, what do these dragon riders usually do? What do they do? Lu Bai smiled. You've asked the right person. Although I'm only in clear desolate city, there's nothing I don't know about. The Tianji dragon riders are under the direct command of His Majesty the Sacred Emperor. Normally they will split up and patrol the various cities, carrying out missions to hunt demonic spirits. When there is war, these dragon riders will rush to the battlefield. When there is a local unrest, the dragon riders will also participate in the war. 7 years ago, there was an upheaval in the northern province. The empire mobilized over 70% of the Tianji dragon riders to quell the rebellion. It was truly a reign of terror. Some people say that in a single night, these dragon riders slaughtered nearly 300,000 soldiers and civilians who participated in the rebellion. Lu Bai seemed to be able to see that tragic war. He clicked his tongue and said, To the people, the dragon riders are the gods of war that the heavens have bestowed upon the human world. To the emperor, the dragon riders are just a tool to rule. Our country's Tianji dragon riders, as well as the neighboring countries' Tianjua dragon riders and Blackstone dragon riders, are all the same. Otherwise, the three great empires wouldn't have been able to rule the celestial pole continent for so long. Lin Wuyu nodded, then asked, Bai, as a commoner, what do you think of these sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings and sacred martial sovereigns? Do you revere them or do you want to stand shoulder to shoulder with them? Stand shoulder to shoulder? Stop joking. Lu Bai couldn't help but laugh. Those people aren't mortals. They're all gods. It's said that some sacred martial gods have even lived in the god realm. It's just that the spiritual qi in the celestial pole continent is very abundant, so they're willing to enter the world to cultivate. Young hero, why are you asking this? If you ask so many more questions, I'll have to charge you extra. There's going to be extra charges? Lin Wuyu couldn't help but laugh. Bai, you're just too greedy. Humans die in pursuit of wealth, just as birds die in pursuit of food. You better not ask me any more questions. I've already answered a lot. Alright, I won't ask any more. That's right, there are a lot of demonic spirits. Do they appear frequently? How could that be? Basically, encountering a demonic spirit is as unlucky as stepping on dog shit. Do you think you can encounter one just because you want to? Lu Bai smacked his lips. You're really bad, tricking me into answering your questions again. This time, no matter what, you'll have to pay more for the questioning. Young hero, you're really too gutsy. You. As he spoke, Liu Bai suddenly trembled all over and he stood where he was. His eyes stared straight into the distance as if his soul had been hooked. His face instantly turned deathly pale. What's wrong? Lin Muyu asked. Liu Bai extended his hand and pointed in front of him. H*T. Under the moonlight on the mountain path, a demon with a crooked body and barbs all over its body crawled on top of a huge rock. A pair of blood-red eyes stared fixedly at Lin Muyu and Liu Bai. That was the gaze of someone staring at their prey. It slowly opened its mouth and unexpectedly, its mouth was also filled with barbs. If they were to be bitten by it, a large piece of meat would probably be destroyed. Demonic spirit. Liu Bai said with a trembling voice. We really stepped on dog shit. Is that so? Lin Muyu acted as if nothing had happened. His spiritual pulse technique had already sensed the existence of this demonic spirit a few minutes ago. It's just that the strength of this demonic spirit was too weak, so he didn't think much of it. He asked, then what class is this demonic spirit? Liu Bai stared at the neck of the demonic spirit and muttered to himself, blue, green, white, gray, red. A total of 5 colors. It's a class 5 demonic spirit. Oh my god, it's over. If it was a class 8 or a class 9 demonic spirit, I might be able to survive if I ran faster than you. It's over this time, class 5? Can't you see the color of its neck? Demonic spirits are also cultivated to increase their cultivation. The higher the cultivation, the more uniform the spiritual energy will be. A real demon emperor's neck only has 1 color. As he spoke, Liu Bai's body trembled. He grabbed onto Lin Muyu's wrist and said with a trembling voice, young hero, don't run. Don't turn around. It's useless to run after encountering a demonic spirit. Even the weakest class 9 demonic spirit can easily catch up to humans. I don't intend to run. Don't grab me. Men shouldn't touch each other. Pay. Liu Bai's face alternated between white and yellow as he said, it's over. I never thought that a dignified god-rank physiognomist like me would actually die here. In the end, I didn't even get a girlfriend. My life is really not worth it. Jia. The demonic spirit stuck out its tongue and laughed cruelly as if it was mocking Liu Bai. Liu Bai didn't move. This time he really didn't dare to move. If he were to act blindly without thinking, it might speed up his death. Right now he could only wait for a quick death. He only hoped that this demonic spirit would eat him slowly and let him live a little longer. However, at the side, Lin Muyu rolled up her sleeves, revealing a pair of strong arms. Young hero, what do you want? Liu Bai asked. Fight with my life. Don't tell me you're just going to sit and wait to be someone's midnight snack? Liu Bai's eyes lit up. All right. I forgot that you're someone who followed Master to cultivate in the mountains. I thought you were a weak chicken waiting to be slaughtered. Damn you! As Lin Muyu spoke, her figure flashed and went straight for the class 5 demonic spirit in front of her. It's the national day. Yi went home to accompany his parents. Therefore, there will be no updates on the 30th to the 5th. I hope that everyone can understand. After all, life is far more important than the internet. Chapter 727. Hiss. All the spikes on the demon spirit's body stood up, like an inflated porcupine. This demon spirit's cultivation was much higher than Liu Bai's. When Lin Muyu made her move, she had already sensed the sudden burst of power within this young man's body. It had simply reached an extremely frightening realm. An extremely frightening realm. The demon spirit's body started to burn, and its strength quickly rose to its peak. It waved its sharp claws and charged towards Lin Muyu. Was it trying to fight with its life on the line? However, how could Lin Muyu give it such a chance? In the 5 elements, water can subdue fire. As her body moved, she raised her fist, and streams of law of ice quickly gathered. Her fist instantly became the center of a spinning force field, and she punched towards the demon spirit's abdomen. Divine energy flashed, and the 5th class demon spirit flew out like a ball sealed in ice, heavily falling into the grass. There was no longer any signs of life. It was killed by Lin Muyu with just 1 punch. It can't be, right? Liu Bai's jaw almost dropped to the ground. This is too exaggerated. Who the hell is this kid? He killed a 5th class demon spirit with a single punch. What kind of terrifying thing is this? Even those sacred warriors or sacred martial venerables within the Empire's borders can't do such a thing, right? Both fists lightly bumped and ice shards fell to the ground. Lin Muyu happily said, "Done." "How is this possible?" Lu Bai carefully came to the side of the demon spirit and said, "Young hero, did you really kill this demon spirit? It couldn't have suddenly died, right?" Lin Muyu glanced at him and walked forward. He opened his palm and pressed it on a huge rock that was as tall as two people. Divine energy circulated, and with a shout, the huge rock slowly split into pieces. He clapped his hands and said as if nothing had happened, "How is it? Do you still need proof? Who is your master? He's so powerful." Lu Bai's face was extremely pale, and he was even more afraid than when he encountered a demon spirit. "If I tell you my master's name, you'll probably be scared to death." "Tell me, who is it?" "My master's martial arts are astonishing, and she's proficient in the pulse-severing battle technique. Her name is Shuero and people call her Little Demon. She's also a peerless beauty, hee. Commoner, let me ask you, are you afraid?" Lin Muyu remembered that there was a very powerful girl in the game she used to play, so she made up a story. Lu Bai was overwhelmed with shock. 10,000 thoughts flashed through his mind. This Shuero must be an old monster with an extremely high cultivation who was tens of thousands of years old. Just the thought of her wrinkled face was enough to scare someone to death. "Young hero, what's your name?" "Just call me Young Hero. Don't ask for my name." Lin Muyu took out a handful of Jinin coins and crushed them into gold nuggets. "Lini, this is your allowance." "So much gold? Young swordsman, what are you doing?" Lu Bai's eyes lit up. Lin Muyu said, "For the next period of time, you'll travel around this celestial pole continent with me and be my guide. I won't treat you badly and I'll protect you." "How could there be such a good thing in the world?" Lu Bai nodded happily. Okay. Speaking of which, I'm very familiar with this continent. Alright, where do you want to travel to?" "Let's go to the Tianji Empire's imperial capital, Tianji City first. Then we'll go to the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire. I want to travel around this celestial pole continent." Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy could you win 100 battles. If she knew nothing about the celestial pole continent, the Shattered Cauldron realm was destined to suffer a great loss. After all, the disparity in strength was too great. The reason why she wanted Lu Bai to be her guide was very simple. There were too many immortal-level experts in the celestial pole continent. Any sacred martial god might be able to kill her. Therefore, it was best to keep a low profile and act cautiously. Lin Muyu didn't plan to defeat such a strong opponent in the celestial pole continent purely by force. She could only rely on intelligence. "Okay, I'll do as you say. Don't talk so much. Go buy 2 fast horses first and find an inn to rest at night. We'll set off tomorrow and travel all the way to Tianji City." "Yes, young hero." Lu Bai bowed and weighed the gold nugget in his hand. It weighed at least half a kilogram. If he were to exchange so much gold at a gold shop, he would be able to exchange it for at least 20 small gold coins of the Tianji Empire. He would be making a fortune. At night, in an inn in Qinghuang City, Lin Muyu opened a small window and looked at the faint moonlight outside the window with her arms as a pillow. It had been a few days since she left the Empire. She could be considered to have a slight understanding of the celestial pole continent. However, the more she knew about the celestial pole continent, the more worried she was about the Qin Empire in the Shattered Cauldron realm. The Empire's current strength was definitely not a match for the celestial pole continent. In fact, it couldn't even defeat the Tianji Empire. He licked his somewhat dry lips and slowly released his spiritual perception. A strand of psyche power traversed through space and headed straight for the Shattered Cauldron realm. He had to warn the people of the Shattered Cauldron realm to act cautiously. In Tongtian Gorge, next to the central military tent of the Longdan army camp, in Tang Xiaoxi's tent, the candlelight swayed gently. Tang Xiaoxi, who was sitting by the bed and cultivating, suddenly felt a jolt in her heart. A familiar psyche power had awakened her. Closing her eyes, Tang Xiaoxi could immediately see Lin Muyu's appearance. She couldn't help but ask, "Mu, you've been in the celestial pole continent for so many days. How is it going?" "I'm fine. Don't worry, Xiaoxi." Lin Muyu chuckled. "You're still talking about it? I miss you so much." "I miss you too, but I have something more important to tell you now. It's about everything about the celestial pole continent." "And tell me." Thus, Lin Muyu told Tang Xiaoxi everything she knew. Hearing that, Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face turned pale. Originally, she only thought that the celestial pole continent in the east was stronger, but now she knew that this celestial pole continent was ridiculously strong. Tang Xiaoxi frowned slightly and said worriedly, then what should we do? What else can we do? Counter soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir. Lin Muyu said, you have to use the fastest speed to send a letter to Big Brother Feng and Aiyan. Inform the entire Lingnan and Lanyan city and all the major provinces to transfer elite troops to the 4 provinces facing the sea to set up defenses. In addition, let the empire's shipyards build warships with all their might. If the 3 empires invade our borders, we have to stop them at the east of the coast. My psyche power to send a message consumes too much energy and the distance is too far, so I'll have to rely on you. Don't worry. Tang Xiaoxi said obediently, my psyche power is enough to send a message to Feng Jixing, and then let Feng Jixing send a message to Qin Yan. And don't make it public first. All the military deployments and movements must be carried out in secret. We can't be in a mess before the war starts in the Celestial Pole continent, understand? I understand. Don't worry, Mu. Also, you're in the Celestial Pole continent. There are so many Saint Martial gods and Saint Martial kings, and every one of them can defeat you. You have to be careful. Once Wei Chao's battle with the demon race at the Tongtian Gorge ends, I'll immediately go to the Celestial Pole continent to find you. Don't worry, I'll gather information here. You have to guard the Empire. Right now, you and Ouyang Yan have the highest cultivation in the Empire, so you must guard there and wait for me to return. Then come back early. Don't worry, I'll naturally leave after I understand this place well enough. I also know that this place is very dangerous. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but laugh. You're still in the mood to joke? Alright, maintaining psyche power consumes too much divine power. Quickly retract your psyche power. I'll tell everything to Feng Jixing and Qin Yan in a while. When Lin Muyu's psyche power dispersed, the illusion in front of Tang Xiaoxi immediately dissipated and was replaced by Ouyang Yan's charming face. It's Lin Muyu's psyche power? And what did she say? Some fatal things. Tang Xiaoxi took another look at Ouyang Yan and said, Ouyang, if we're on the losing side in the future war, will you still serve the Qin Empire? Ouyang Yan was stunned, then she puffed out her chest and said with a smile, what kind of person does Princess She think I, Ouyang Yan, am? Since I've decided to serve the Qin Empire, I'll naturally protect it with my life. Moreover, I owe His Highness a life. He gave me a new lease of life. This kindness is worth me, Ouyang Yan, to repay with my life. There's no need for you to repay kindness. Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly and said, however, this continent is indeed plagued with disasters. I originally thought that after the Fiend race and Iha country were destroyed, it would usher in a period of peace and prosperity, but I didn't expect. Oh right, Ouyang, has Chu returned yet? He came back once and went out again. Chu said that he sensed the invasion of power from the east, so he decided to head to the Celestial Pole continent to take a look. Perhaps he can even meet His Highness you. How can there be such a coincidence? Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, I'm going to exert my power. Help me guard. Yes, eldest miss. Tianji City, the most prosperous city in the entire Tianji Empire, and also the capital of the empire. This crowded capital was located in the north of the empire's territory, but it had a thriving population with strong soldiers and horses. Tianji Palace, the center of the entire Tianji City, was also the residence of the royal North Deep clan. Tianji Palace's luxury was well known throughout the entire Celestial Pole continent. It was said that the tiles used in Tianji Palace were glazed tiles, and the anti-slip particles on the floor tiles were actually white diamonds. Moreover, the beams of the entire main hall were built with the bones of an ancient divine dragon. It was very strong and had the dragon power to protect the main hall from the impact of power. In the main hall there were many officials. On the throne, a middle-aged expert wearing a dragon robe sat there with his eyes shining. He was Baiming Yuan, an ultimate god. Although an ultimate god was not rare in the Tianji Empire, it was not easy for an emperor to become an ultimate god. Baiming Yuan had been on the throne for many years and kept a low profile. It was also because of his existence that the other 2 empires did not dare to covet the territory of the Tianji Empire. The officials and generals were divided into 2 sides. The one in front of the generals was about 40 years old with 5 golden badges on his chest armor, indicating his strength level, martial saint. Baiming Huan, Baiming Yuan's younger brother, was the empire's marshal and a martial saint. He was second to none in the empire. His scarlet palm technique could be said to be invincible in the world. Your Majesty, Baiming Huan said respectfully, Dragon Rider Su Chuan is back. He has hunted a Demon King level demon spirit. Alright, summon him. Yes. Chapter 728. Dong dong dong. Sichuan walked into the palace with his head held high. In terms of status and experience, he was one of the few in the Tianji Empire. There were a total of 5 sacred martial kings in the Tianji Empire, and 2 of them served the empire. One was Baiming Huan, and the other was General Zhang Cheng. The other 3 sacred martial kings cultivated in the Tianji sect and were not under the empire's control. Next were the 11 sacred martial kings, and most of them cultivated in the Tianji sect. There were only 4 sacred martial kings in the empire, and Sichuan was one of them. Thank you for your hard work, Dragon Rider Sichuan. Baiming Yuan held onto the golden lion head on the throne. His face had a gratified expression as he smiled and said, "Did you bring the corpse of that demon king-level demon spirit?" "Yes." Sichuan turned his head, grabbed the demon spirit's corpse from the hands of his subordinates and threw it on the red carpet. He smiled and said, "In order to kill this demon king, my dragon mount suffered quite a bit of injury." "It really suffered?" Baiming Abyss laughed heartily. "You've worked hard. Men, come and heavily reward Sir Dragon Rider Sichuan. Bestow him with 500 caddies of gold and 500 caddies of silver. In addition, bestow him with the title of a second-class lord and 500 hectares of land." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Sichuan bowed. Although the Tianji Dragon Riders were directly under Baiming Abyss's command, they were not part of the empire's military. Instead, they were a group of independent people. That was why Sichuan's rank was only that of a dragon rider, and he did not hold any position within the empire. As for titles like Lord, and so on, those were just empty titles. What Sichuan cared about was the gold, silver, and jewels that Baiming Abyss gave him. Even though he was a Saint Martial King, he still needed to live a luxurious life after entering the secular world to cultivate. Sichuan owned a luxurious mansion that was worth 10 million gold coins in Tianji City. There were 500 guards and over 30 beauties in the mansion. If he didn't have these gold and silver rewards, it would probably be difficult for him to continue living such an immortal-like life. Sichuan knelt on one knee and said, "Your Majesty, did the tongue we caught a few days ago confess anything?" "Yes." Baiming Huan said, "Baiming Huan, tell me." "Yes." Baiming Huan nodded respectfully. "Dragon Rider Sichuan, soon the empire will face a new war, and our opponent will be a continent on the other side of the ocean." That tongue seemed to have confessed everything. A month ago, the great battle in the divine realm officially ended. Lord Shi Yen Blazing Angel accidentally damaged the Wall of Order during the intense battle with the gods of the eastern celestial heavens, causing the spiritual mountains of the 2 planes to collide and merge with each other. This caused the wall between our plane's plane and the Shattered Cauldron Realm's plane to officially disappear. Now that the 2 continents have completely merged, a new war is about to arrive. Sichuan was dazed. Shattered Cauldron Realm? What kind of continent is that? Baiming Huan smiled and said, "Don't worry, the Broken Cauldron world is still in the embryonic stage, and its power is far inferior to ours. The most powerful god in the Broken Cauldron world is only a god king who is in the 30th heavenly abode, and their weapons, and horses are all far inferior to ours. But the Broken Cauldron world is fertile, and the population is thriving. The spirit beasts in the forest are also quite famous, and their spirit cores can be used for our cultivation. So, as long as we take the Broken Cauldron world as our own, the Tianji Empire will definitely be able to develop in 100 years, and then destroy the Heavenju Empire and the Darkstone Empire, and unify the whole world." "When do we leave?" Sichuan was a bit excited. "We have to act before the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire find out. We can't let others get this fat meat first." "Hey, don't be in such a hurry." Baiming Huan waved his hand and smiled. "Recently, I have been deploying troops at the border. We have to stabilize the border first before we can send some troops to conquer Shattered Cauldron Realm. In addition, I have also sent envoys to the 2 empires to ask for an alliance. Only with an alliance can we focus on attacking Shattered Cauldron Realm." "Yes, I will listen to Marshall's orders." That's good, haha. Shattered Cauldron Realm will be ours sooner or later, no need to rush." "Yes." The night was indescribably cold. The night of the exile land was full of slaughter, and one could even hear miserable cries from afar. No one knew which unlucky soul had died under a sharp blade. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The girl was kneeling in the grass with bare feet. There was a kind of black crawling bug in this patch of grass. Although this bug didn't bite, it was very disgusting when it moved. This demon spirit girl's arms and hair were almost covered with these bugs, but she didn't move at all, like a withered leaf hidden in the grass. She had been waiting here for a whole day, but the hunter from hell still hadn't appeared. She clearly remembered the battle 2 days ago. That hunter in black armor had almost cut off his own arm with a single sword strike. Moreover, this dark hunter's movements were getting more and more frequent. All signs showed that he was eager to rule this area, and didn't want to let any of his opponents live. Never be bullied by others. These were her father's words. Although her father had died a long time ago, the young girl still remembered these words. These words were the law of her life in the banished lands. If anyone wanted to kill her, she must kill them first. Rustle. A strange sound came. It didn't sound like the sound of a pine insect crawling over the grass, but was completely different. It was the sound of boots stepping on the wet grass. It had rained half a day ago and the ground was still wet. The girl didn't move, but her pair of beautiful eyes quietly looked into the distance. With the sound of footsteps, he had arrived. The black soft armor was decorated with resplendent diamonds, blinding people's eyes. The black helmet looked so exquisite. A steel sword hung from his waist, and his palm was pressed on the sword hilt. He looked around with a sharp gaze, searching for his opponent. The cold night wind blew, making the long hair behind his helmet and trench coat flutter. He had always been like this, pursuing the pinnacle of handsomeness, a man like the wind. Come out. He suddenly stopped, and his gaze was like a sword as he looked at the grass in front of him. Silence. He seemed to be a little impatient. He raised his hand and a ball of fire appeared. He shouted in a low voice, "Come out. Do you want me to personally invite you out? You're courting death." Whoosh. The flames swallowed the entire field of wild grass, and suddenly there was a roar. It was a ferocious tiger from the exile land, the horned tiger. It was a fierce tiger with a sharp horn on its head, and it was at the top of the food chain in the exile land. There weren't many people who dared to provoke the horned tiger, and this man in front of him was one of them. "Bastard, how dare you ambush me? You're courting death." He attacked. His fist was wrapped in flames, and he smashed it heavily on the horned tiger's abdomen from a strange angle. However, a tyrannical rebounding force attacked him. The horned tiger's skin was covered with stellar energy, and just as he was about to fall, the horned tiger flipped its sharp claws and swept them horizontally. A few bloody wounds immediately appeared on his shoulder. Damn it. He took the opportunity to pull out his sword. The blade was wrapped in a ball of fire, a ball of golden light. This was a cultivator of the law of fire and light. The temperature and light of the spewing flames converged. He launched a fierce attack, and his whole body melted into the sword light. Blood splattered in the wind. When he pulled out his sword, the horned tiger could no longer resist. The messy sword wounds and holes on its body proved that the horned tiger was defeated. Roar! Amidst the miserable howl, the steel sword pierced straight into the horned tiger's mouth, and came out through its brain, carrying with it a strong smell of blood. Humph! He raised his palm and licked clean the tiger blood that had splattered on his palm. Filthy trash. But at this moment, a shadow passed by him as silent as the wind. Rip! The sound was very light. It was a sharp knife, shining with a frightening cold light. After the knife light, a thin wound spread out from his neck. With a pu sound, it completely bloomed like a beautiful flower. Blood spurted out from his neck. He stood there dumbfounded, the sword in his hand still stabbed into the horned tiger's head. He raised his head looking at the stars in the sky. His hair and cloak fluttered in the wind. A man like the wind. Bang! After heavily falling to the ground, he died in humiliation. The sword in his hand was pulled out from the horned tiger's mouth. It was covered in blood, but under the moonlight, it shone with a demonic luster, as if it was responding to the light in the sky. The demon spirit girl slowly walked over with the bloody knife. Looking at her opponent's corpse, her face was emotionless. She didn't even feel the joy of victory. She only felt that everything was as it should be. Bending down, she picked up her opponent's sword. The moment the blade touched her hand, she suddenly froze. A vigorous and overbearing power seemed to be resonating with the sword in her body. Shwa! The power in her arm flowed into the sword. In the next moment, golden crystals separated from the power and rapidly spun. What is this? She was dumbfounded. She never thought that she would have a connection with a weapon. Moreover, these flying golden crystals were a type of pure energy crystal. But what was it? Who am I? She muttered to herself, but the chilling night wind of the banished lands answered her rampantly. Wu, she couldn't understand. This paragraph was so poetic that even I was moved. Knock, knock, knock. Violent knocks came from outside the inn's door. Open the door, open the door. If you don't open the door we will break it down. Lin Muyu woke up from his sleep. The divine power that he had used to transmit the message through his telekinesis last night was fully replenished. He floated up and opened the door to his room, only to see 7 to 8 armored soldiers staring at him. One of the soldiers was holding Lu Bai in his hands. The poor Lu Bai was already tied up. What is it? Lin Muyu was so calm that it was exaggerated. What? An officer wearing a 10-man military rank smiled and said, "Are you a noble?" "No." "Do you have any friends who are nobles?" "No." "Then do you have money?" "I am poor." "Then congratulations, you have been conscripted by the Imperial Army in the West Mountain Province as a first-class private. Don't say anything. You will naturally understand your status when you reach the military camp." Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. Damn, they are grabbing a strong man. Chapter 729. Lin Muyu's hands were tied behind her back. Fortunately, she had already put the star's sword into her cosmos bag, and the cosmos bag was hidden in her bosom, so these soldiers of the Qingji Empire did not find it. However, Lu Bai, who was standing beside her, had a bitter look on his face. He muttered in a low voice, "Young hero, I don't believe that you will give up without a fight. With your strength, you definitely won't be afraid of these soldiers who bully the weak and fear the strong." "What do you know? They have knives in their hands." Lin Muyu snickered. In fact, she just wanted to go to the military camp of the Qingji Empire to see their fighting capacity. As for getting out of here, Lin Muyu could easily do it at any time. On the path in the jungle, there were dozens of people who had been captured as new recruits like Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. They were escorted by nearly 50 soldiers of the Qingji Empire. Lin Muyu looked at the equipment of these soldiers, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Only 10-man sergeants were qualified to wear armor, and their armor was relatively inferior. The armor was rusty, and most of them could not withstand the full thrust of the long spear. Ordinary soldiers did not wear armor at all. They only wore dirty cotton military uniforms, which made them look like a group of ruffians. In fact, these people were indeed the lowest soldiers in the army. Otherwise, they would not have been sent to do this kind of work. Walking all the way until noon, the group arrived at a place about 20 li north of Qinhuang City. From afar, a military camp built on the side of a mountain could be seen. Lin Muyu could tell with a single glance that this military camp could accommodate about 5,000 people. It was not a small camp, but it was most likely a new recruit camp. From afar they could hear the sounds of new recruits training. Their voices were mixed, and they were definitely not veterans who had gone through hundreds of battles. Lu Bai complained incessantly. In a low voice he said, "I've had many plans in my life. I've wanted to be an erudite and knowledgeable prophet. I've wanted to be an omniscient fortune teller. I've also wanted to be a noble and have many wives and concubines, but I've never wanted to be a soldier." "If a good man wants to be a soldier, what are you afraid of?" "I'm here." Lin Muyu smiled and comforted him. Lu Bai felt even more uncomfortable. Who was willing to be a soldier these days? Their pay was deducted too much and their lives were in danger at any time. No one was willing to be a soldier. Otherwise, the situation wouldn't have developed to such an exaggerated extent as catching able-bodied men. "Stop looking around and go in," an old soldier shouted loudly. He raised his whip and landed it heavily on a young man. The young man looked to be about 15 years old. He grimaced in pain, but he didn't dare to say a word. The dozens of able-bodied men were all brought to a corner of the military camp. After they stood still, the curtain of a tent in the distance was lifted, and a man with 2 silver triangular military insignia on his chest walked out. His face was full of beard and his voice was like muffled thunder exploding, "All of you shut up if you don't want to die." Everyone was horrified and didn't dare to speak. The bearded general sneered. He looked at the group of new soldiers in front of him as if he was looking at a group of bugs and said, "You're all a bunch of trash. Do you know how much military rations are needed to feed you into real soldiers? If you want to become soldiers like me who protect His Majesty the Sacred Emperor and the Qingji Empire, you must not fear death or pain. You must become stronger as soon as possible." In the crowd, a thin man immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. "Sir, I'm just a peddler in Qinhuang City. I didn't think of becoming a soldier. I have parents and children to take care of. Please let me go, sir." "You trash." The bearded general suddenly raised his hand, and a fist shadow exploded in the air. With a bang, the peddler vomited blood and fainted. Everyone was immediately scared out of their wits and they were all dumbfounded. Lin Muyu secretly took a breath. This officer didn't wear a general's insignia, and was only a small officer. However, the power of his punch just now was as strong as the third layer of the heaven realm. The celestial pole continent was indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. The overall level of cultivation was more than a level higher than that of the Empire. You have no way out. The bearded general narrowed his eyes at the crowd and said, "You're walking on a single plank bridge. In front of you are the glorious soldiers of the Empire, and behind you is the road to death. Make your own choice. Do you choose to become a tough and strong soldier who has been tempered by wind and rain, or do you choose to be a coward, a piece of trash who will die in humiliation in a cesspool?" Everyone was silent. The general continued, "I know that many of you are unconvinced, but let me tell you this. If it wasn't for the fact that the Empire's army needs people, they wouldn't have captured you at all because you're not qualified." His eyes were filled with a sneer. "I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Chen Dongyang and I belong to the West Mountain Province's army on duty. My military rank is second rank and I lead 1,000 people. From now on you're a member of my 1,000-man army. However, I'll say the ugly words first. If you can't become a soldier, you'll become a dead man. So please do your best. In the afternoon I'll give you weapons and uniforms. I hope you don't disappoint me." Everyone was aghast. Who dared to say another word? Lin Muyu and Lu Bai were arranged to stay in the same tent. It was a very crude tent that was riddled with holes. The ground was covered with weeds and that was the recruit's bed. The 10-man squad leader behind him scolded in a low voice, "Stop looking, pick your own bed and then follow me to get the supplies." Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu, and Lin Muyu signaled him not to do anything. Sooner or later she would bring him away from this place. As expected, the weapons were very crude. Lin Muyu received a long halberd. The tip of the long halberd was almost rusted through, and the blade and the handle were only wrapped with a few pieces of torn cotton cloth. It was hard to imagine what this kind of weapon would be used for on the battlefield. However, the military uniform was new, but it was a little too small, and it looked a little ridiculous on her. After receiving the weapons, the recruit training began in the afternoon. The first training was to cooperate with the team to attack. This surprised Lin Muyu a little. Although the equipment of the Qinji Empire looked crude, the tactical training was very strict, and orders were strictly followed. The military training of the instructors was very good. In the evening it was a weight-bearing training. A group of recruits carried their weapons and walked around the mountains. Behind them were instructors riding on horses and waving leather whips. Those who fell behind could not avoid physical pain. Fortunately, with Lin Muyu's help, Lu Bai did not suffer much. At sunset, 500 recruits came to the entrance of the valley. However, they heard a rumbling sound coming from afar. "What's wrong?" Lu Bai stopped and touched his neck. It had been scratched by the handle of the long halberd. Several instructors also stopped involuntarily. On the horizon, the rumbling sound was getting closer and closer. Soon, a group of cavalries appeared on the other side of the valley. It was a group of cavalries riding on wild beasts. Moreover, it was a group of armored tigers. However, these tigers seemed to be different from the ones Lin Muyu had seen before. Their backs were very flat and they were suitable for riding. The cavalrymen on the back of the ferocious tigers were clad in armor. Their helmets shone with a golden radiance under the setting sun. Between the gaps of their helmets, pairs of ruthless gazes swept across the bodies of the new recruits. They didn't stop at all. "What is that?" The recruits were stunned. Not only the recruits but even the instructors looked envious. It was obvious that their status could not be compared with this kind of cavalry's. "Stop looking," one of the instructors said angrily. "It's the Tiger Leopard Cavalry, one of the branches of the Empire's cavalries. Only the children of nobles have the opportunity to enter the cavalries to receive training. However, you guys, as long as you make great contributions on the battlefield, you will also have the same opportunity. Stop being envious. Let's go." "Yes, sir." The recruits already knew how to talk to their superior officers. After dinner, Lu Bai was so tired that he could barely move. He lay on the meadow motionless as if he was dead. Lin Muyu pushed his arm. "Plain clothes. Let me sleep for a while more." "You don't want to go?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "Can we go?" "Why can't I?" Under the moonlight, the two of them left the military camp along a small mountain path. After walking for a short distance, they suddenly heard a rustling sound from the bushes in the distance. "Who is it?" Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. "Don't be nervous, it's us." A few people who looked like recruits stood up from the bushes. They were also recruits who had trained with them during the day. It seemed like they were also deserters. So they ran together. However, after leaving the camp for less than 2 miles, the sound of hooves came from behind. Torches flickered and a voice shouted in the wind, "All of you stop, you scum." It was the voice of second-rank Tiger Lieutenant Qin Dongyang. Run. No one knew who shouted, but the crowd began to scatter in all directions. The warhorses were very fast. In the darkness of the night, there were about 10 cavalrymen galloping towards them. Qin Dongyang held his shining long sword and galloped at the front. He raised his sword and slashed at the back of a deserter. Blood splattered everywhere. The poor recruit was almost cut in half. "It's over, this demon." Lu Bai was shocked. "You go, I will block him. Run as fast as you can and I will catch up to you," Lin Muyu said in a low voice. "Okay." Lu Bai didn't even look back as he ran. Lin Muyu turned around and flew over. "A deserter like you dares to turn back and seek death?" Qin Dongyang roared. He raised his bloody long sword and slashed at Lin Muyu. The long sword was enshrouded with fighting energy, and it turned into a bolt of lightning. It was extremely fast. However, Lin Muyu was even faster. She flashed past at a speed that the naked eye could not follow, dodging the attack of the long sword. Her fist was imbued with half of her divine power as she punched Qin Dongyang's abdomen. Bang! Golden light burst out and Qin Dongyang spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell off his horse and rolled on the ground like a cannonball. He looked very embarrassed. "This bastard, he wants to kill General Chen." A group of cavalries galloped over and threw their spears. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. With a light shake of her arms, a huge invisible wall immediately formed in front of her. Dang dang dang. The spears were all knocked away. She raised her fist and swept out with half of the power of chaos of the lives. Instantly, a strong gust of wind blew and a golden shockwave rippled out, causing a group of riders and their horses to tumble and tumble away. Heavens, this brat is a holy martial venerable. Qin Dongyang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. "Stop the attack and retreat. Come and help me, my ribs are all broken." Chapter 730. In the spring of the Xishan province, the birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. A bonfire was burning and a rabbit was being roasted above it. The aroma of the meat had begun to spread. Lu Bai kept turning the stick and he was sweating profusely. Lin Muyu was lying on the grass with her arms as a pillow. She murmured to herself, "Tianji Dragon Cavalry, Beast Cavalry, Tiger Leopard Cavalry? Young hero, what are you doing? Get up and eat." Lin Muyu took a rabbit leg and took a few bites. But she was preoccupied and didn't have the appetite. She asked, "Bai, how many beast cavalrymen are there in the Tianji Empire?" "It's said that there are more than 30,000 beast cavalrymen. I've only heard of them before, but I've finally seen them." TSK. Awesome. Awesome. I was scared to death. Lu Bai was speechless. Even Lin Muyu was shocked by the power of the beast cavalrymen, let alone an ordinary person like Lu Bai. "More than 30,000? Lin Muyu murmured. She had a new understanding of the military strength of the Tianji Empire. If they really fought, the Qin Empire would be defeated. Hee. In the sky, an eagle was circling. Lin Muyu frowned. "What's that?" This eagle was a bit strange. Its head didn't look like a bird's but like a wolf's head. "It's just a hunting eagle. What's so strange about it?" Lu Bai lowered his head and gnawed on the rabbit. He didn't even want to look up. But soon another sound echoed in the air. Honk, honk. Dragon roar. On the other side of the hill, 2 behemoths flapped their giant wings and appeared in the sky. They were 2 dragon cavalrymen. Suddenly, Lu Bai was so scared that he dropped the rabbit in his hand. He took a few steps back and said, "Oh my God, dragon cavalrymen found us." The 2 of them were still wearing the military uniforms of the Tianji Empire's recruits, which could be seen at a glance. "Bai, go back as far as possible. Don't come over," Lin Muyu said lightly. "Well, be careful." Lu Bai ran away. Roar! One of the 2 dragons was blue and the other red, but their heads were equally ferocious. They stared at Lin Muyu with the eyes of wild beasts. In fact, the dragon race was originally a wild beast, just a beast in the food chain. On the dragon's back, half of the dragon rider's face was covered by a blue helmet, but his gaze was like a sharp sword that made one's heart go cold. In his hands was a spear that had frost swirling around it. "It's you 2 who escaped from West Mountain Province's main camp, right? You 2 deserters escaped from the Xishan Province camp, right?" Lin Muyu didn't deny it. Instead, she asked, "How did you find us? That's the only thing I'm curious about." The dragon cavalryman laughed. His teeth were very white. He pointed the dragon spear at the eagle circling in the sky and said, "Do you see that? That's a wolf falcon, a wolf that can fly. Its sense of smell is more than 10 times that of a wolf's. Even if you two fly into the sky or dive into the ground, we can still find you. So now, what do you want?" Lin Muyu pulled out the stellar sword from her Qingquan bag. The sword flashed, and the dragon cavalryman was slightly stunned. He could feel the sword's sharpness. However, the shock only lasted for a moment. The dragon cavalryman's confidence wouldn't waver. He squinted his eyes and said, "Nothing much. As a member of the Tianji Dragon Cavalry, I did what I had to do. I just sent you two to the Empire's military law office to receive the punishment that deserters deserve. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't try to resist. Any accidental deaths during the Tianji Dragon Cavalry's mission can be pardoned." "Accidental deaths?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She said, "You're dreaming? You actually want to kill me? Tell me, what are your names?" "I don't want to kill you, and I still don't know your names." "Impudent. Arrogant." The two dragon riders roared together. However, they were obviously nobles, and they still maintained the self-restraint that nobles should have. They lowered their dragon spears and said, "Junior Dragon Cavalryman Li Ku. Second-rank Dragon Cavalryman Hu Yin." "Alright, let's do it." Lin Muyu stood majestically on the grass and looked at the sky indifferently. Li Ku was at the Divine Heaven Realm, and Hu Yin was at the Divine Sovereign Realm. What worried Lin Muyu was how much their battle power would increase after becoming one with the dragon. However, what made Lin Muyu excited was that she actually had the chance to fight a dragon cavalryman here. This was too rare of an opportunity, and it was also a great chance to understand a dragon cavalryman. Arrogant to the extreme. Li Ku roared angrily and urged the dragon to pounce. He raised his long sword and a fiery light shot into the sky. His attack was indeed extraordinary. Moreover, before the sword energy even landed, a formless aura shrouded everyone, making them feel suffocated. Moreover, the power of this sword actually contained very pure dragon power. Buzz. The golden wall of the gourd appeared in front of Lin Muyu, and with a bang, light surged. The dragon scale wall blocked Li Ku's attack. After all, there was a large disparity in strength between the two. Li Ku and his dragon were blown back by the surging cyclone, and he couldn't help but show a look of surprise on his face. A powerful feeling of shock came from the dragon sword. The opponent's seemingly very simple defensive wall was actually ridiculously strong. How is this possible? Li Ku frowned. Clear Desolation City was just an unremarkable small city in the West Mountain province. How could there be a strong person who could fight against a dragon cavalryman? This brat didn't look like someone that powerful. He looked more like a pretty boy kept by a rich woman in the city. This was simply too unbelievable. "Let me." Hu Yin roared and attacked from the other side of Lin Muyu. His dragon spear stabbed down, and layers of frost lingered around it. Layers of frost waves instantly formed a tornado that wrapped around Lin Muyu. At the same time, the blue dragon opened its mouth and spat out an ice dragon breath. Rustle, rustle. The surrounding grass was instantly covered in frost, but the frost dragon breath burst forth in the next moment. A perfect gourd wall defense appeared around Lin Muyu's body. The dragon blood battle shield blocked all of Hu Yin's attacks. The battle shield pulsated with the waves of divinity, a total of 15 layers. Immediately, Lin Muyu couldn't help but secretly laugh. She already knew what was going to happen. Pa. When the two dragon cavalrymen looked again, Lin Muyu had already disappeared. The cyclone flowed back and the tender grass swayed. Where is she? Hu Yin was shocked and quickly focused his senses. His heart turned cold. Above. In the dazzling sunlight, a figure with rapidly spinning flames flew down. It was Lin Muyu's Chaos of the Lives attack with the astral sword, full power. Hu Yin didn't have time to dodge and could only block with his dragon spear. Bang! A huge golden light exploded, and layers of waves covered the sky and covered the earth. The impact caused Hu Yin's Perlicue to immediately bleed. The impact of the 21 waves was so strong that Hu Yin almost couldn't even hold his dragon spear. His body leaned back, and just as he was about to lose his defense from Lin Muyu's attack, the blue dragon suddenly roared. Light blue air currents appeared around its body and stabilized its master's body. What is this? Lin Muyu frowned and didn't say anything. In a flash, she attacked with her sword 4 times in a row. From the second element to the fifth element, the layers of power stacked together. How could Hu Yin block it? With a cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with the giant dragon. Bang! The giant dragon howled and fell to the ground, sending soil and grass flying into the sky. Not far away, Lu Bai, who was hiding behind a huge rock and watching from afar, was so shocked that his soul almost left his body. Who was this kid? He actually defeated a dragon knight with just a few simple attacks? Moreover, it was a Saint Martial Venerable level dragon knight. That was a god. Lord Huyin, are you okay? Li Ku's face was full of shock. Hu Yin's voice came from the mess. I'm fine. I'm fine. Li Ku, you have to be careful. This person is very strong, very strong. He used the word very strong to describe Lin Muyu's strength, but it was clearly not enough. Li Ku held the dragon sword and gritted his teeth. Who are you? A person who travels the world. Lin Muyu casually replied. But you just had to find trouble with me. How about it, Lord Li Ku, do you still want to fight it out with me? You? Li Ku's voice was slightly trembling. Huyin was his superior. Li Ku naturally knew how strong this dragon knight was. He had sparred with Huyin before, and Huyin could subdue him within 20 moves. But just now, Huyin was injured in just 5 moves. How could Li Ku be a match for him? Seeing that Li Ku didn't say anything, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She pointed the star sword at her opponent and said, Then there's no need to fight. Remember, don't follow us anymore. Otherwise, I'll kill everyone I see. Li Ku was silent. As a revered dragon knight, he actually lost so miserably. Luckily, there wasn't anyone else here. Otherwise, he wouldn't know where he could hide his face. Lin Muyu flew with the wind and landed on the ground. Let's go, Bai. Lu Bai was dumbfounded. You were flying just now? Why, is it very strange? No, it's not strange. Although he said that, Lu Bai's eyes were clearly filled with "You're awesome, Lord Huyin." Li Ku flipped over and jumped down from the dragon's back. He went to help the heavily injured Huyin. Huyin's arms were covered in blood. His blood vessels were bleeding from the shock. One could imagine how powerful Lin Muyu's 5 consecutive sword attacks were. Cough cough, Huyin coughed and blood gushed out of his mouth. He lay on the dragon's wings in a sorry state. 21st layer? What 21st layer? This kid is a Saint Martial Venerable at the 21st layer of the Grotto Heaven. Oh my god, Li Ku was shocked. Aren't all the Saint Martial Venerables in the Empire on the list? I've never seen such a person before. He might be an unworldly expert who cultivates in the mountains. Quickly report this to Lord Dragon Knight. I'm okay. Chapter 731. The bell rang a total of 24 times. It was silent in Zitian Palace Hall, and all the officials knelt on the ground. This was a way to cherish the memory of Empress Qinyin. In year 7736 of the Empire calendar, Empress Qinyin had died in the blood-red abyss. 4 years had passed, but everyone knew that on the day Qinyin had died, she had just turned 24 years old. Even though the 3 kings were ruling the world now, everyone still believed that Qinyin would return. This was because she was the legitimate heir of the Qin clan, and she was also the only person in the imperial family who possessed the divine essence. After the bell rang, Shengguan Jingyue, who was wearing the robes of the chief female official, walked forward and extended her hand, saying, "Sirs, please rise." Everyone stood up one after another, and when they raised their heads, they saw Qin Yin and Feng Jixing standing side by side in front of the throne. No one sat down. Ever since the 3 kings had ruled the world, none of them had coveted this throne. Lin Muyu had always believed that she would be able to find Qin Yin. How could Feng Jixing and Qin Yin not believe this as well? His Highness Yu has sent news from the other side of the ocean. Feng Jixing's voice was low, but he said very steadily, "There's another continent on the other side of the East Sea. The 2 planes have completely merged and the world on the other side is called the Celestial Pole. It's ruled by 3 great empires, namely the Tianji Empire, the Celestial Empire, and the Blackstone Empire. The Celestial Pole is a place where martial arts are prevalent, and their strength far surpasses our Shattered Cauldron realm. Now that Duke Wei Weiqiu is leading the Longdan army camp to defeat the Devil Race at the Heavenly Gorge, the Empire should shift its focus from the Devil Race and Iha country to the opponent on the other side of the ocean." The officials were all astonished. Some of them had heard some rumors and knew that there was another world on the other side of the Eastern Sea region, but most of them knew nothing about the Celestial Pole. An elderly minister took a step forward, holding a jade tablet in his hand as he said respectfully, "Your Highness Prince Exen, this matter can't be confirmed yet. Moreover, Even if there's another world on the other side of the ocean, we can send envoys over with gold, silver, and jewelry to make friends with them instead of just thinking about attacking them. The Empire has been through wars for a very long time, and its national power is not as strong as before. I hope that the two of you can empathize with the suffering of the common people in the world. Feng Jixing nodded. What Count Yuyang said is somewhat reasonable, but we must be prepared for both sides. While befriending the celestial pole continent, we must also make preparations for war. There's only so much land in this world, and the three great empires of the celestial pole continent can't completely ignore the richness of the Shattered Cauldron realm. If we don't make preparations, we'll only become lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Count Yuyang bowed his head and said, I only hope that your highnesses will not be overly militaristic and harm my great Qin. Qin Yan was a little displeased. He frowned and said, we know what we're doing. Count Yuyang doesn't need to worry too much. Feng Jixing's gaze landed on Zhen Yifan, who was at the front of the ministers, and he said, Duke Zhong, it's been hard on you to come all the way from the Seven Seas province. However, we still need Duke Zhong to come up with a plan for today's matter. How should the Empire deal with it? However, Zhen Yifan's dim eyes shone brightly as he said, since the celestial pole continent is separated from us by the Eastern Sea, we must reorganize our navy, build new warships, and use the strength of the entire country to strengthen the defense of the three eastern provinces, Lingdong, Tongtian, and Lingkong. Other than that, we must build the magic crystal cannons with all our might. Heavy cannons will be our greatest chance of victory. Feng Jixing nodded in satisfaction. Qin Yan said, where's the Minister of Works? The Minister of Works' white beard was already fluttering. He took a step forward and cupped his fists respectfully. This old subject is here. The forging and improvement of the magic crystal cannons are mainly the matter of your weapons department. I hope that you won't slack off. Yes, this old subject understands. At this moment, the Assistant Minister of the Weapons Department behind him said, Your Highnesses, Lord Qin Xiling has sent us a blueprint from Tongtian Province. It's about building a fortress ship. Fortress ship? Feng Jixing was stunned. What kind of ship is that? Your Highness, the fortress ship is a new type of warship. Both sides of the warship are protected by thick parapet walls. Small magic crystal cannons can be placed in the cabin, and the parapet walls are wrapped with iron sheets to block the enemy's arrows and ballista attacks. Furthermore, the fortress ship can be divided into multiple levels. Not only is it a fortress of heavy cannons when facing the enemy, it can also be used as a transport ship. A large fortress ship can transport at least 2,000 to 4,000 soldiers of the Empire. Lord Qin Xiling's uncanny workmanship is full of wisdom, and he's an unparalleled genius craftsman. Once this kind of fortress ship is successfully developed, it will definitely become the overlord of naval battles. Good. Feng Jixing was overjoyed and waved his hand. Proved. Immediately give the order to start developing and building this kind of fortress ship. But Your Highness. The Assistant Minister of the Weapons Department nodded without saying a word. But what? It's just that the construction of the fortress ship is exquisite. Among the materials required are all kinds of strange iron and wood that are rare in the Empire. Thus, the construction of the fortress ship will cost a huge amount of money. Just tell me directly. How much does it cost to build a fortress ship? Under Feng Jixing's intense gaze, the Assistant Minister swallowed his saliva and said, About 300,000 Jianghu coins is needed to build a large fortress ship. 300,000? Feng Jixing jumped in fright. So expensive. It's practically a fortress made of gold. The Assistant Minister of the Weapons Department smiled bitterly. There's nothing we can do about it. According to Lord Qin Xiling's design, the entire fortress ship is about 200 meters long. Thus, the wood used to reinforce the hull must be the extremely tough golden willow wood. This golden willow wood takes 500 years to mature, and it's originally a precious material comparable to gold. If we don't use golden willow wood to reinforce the hull of the fortress, such a large fortress ship will probably fall apart in a storm. I understand. So be it. 300,000 it is. Feng Jixing looked into the distance. The Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works will be provided by you guys for the Ministry of Works to develop the weapons. The Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works was a fatty with a small beard on his chin that looked like a goat's beard. His face was filled with a meticulous expression as he said, Your Highness Prince Xen, a fortress ship costs 300,000 Jianghu coins. In addition to the magic crystal cannons, sailors, equipment, and so on, the cost of a fortress ship will be 500,000 Jianghu coins. There are usually 1,000 fortress ships in the navy, and the value of 1,000 fortress ships will be 500 million Jianghu coins. The Empire has already spent 1 billion Jianghu coins on the steel walls and the magic crystal cannons. The treasury is empty, so where are we going to get the 500 million Jianghu coins? This old subject really has no other choice. If Your Highness Prince Xin insists on getting this old subject to gather 500 million Jianghu coins, then this old subject is powerless. Feng Jixing's eyes narrowed and he smiled. Lord Jiang, your son has married a concubine and built a hidden beauty pavilion in the south of the city for her, spending a total of 30 million Jianghu coins. Someone has reported this to me. I wonder if it's true? If the Ministry of Revenue is really that poor, then I should consider if I should investigate this thoroughly. Where's Xiao Han from the Fire Sparrow Division? Xiao Han stood ramrod straight and said, Here. Pass the order. Xiao Han is to immediately lead the Fire Sparrow Division's troops to the Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works Manor to investigate the matter of him embezzling resources from the National Treasury and abusing his authority for personal gain. Yes. The fatty was immediately scared silly. He quickly knelt on the ground, wiping away his snot and tears as he said, Your Highness Prince Xin, please spare my life. I, Zhang Rang, have been working conscientiously for so many years and have never abused my authority for personal gain. My son's villa is only what he got from running the Merchant Association. He has never taken any bribes. If Your Highness Prince Xin doesn't trust me, this old subject is willing to bring my son to the streets to beg and help Your Highness gather the 500 million Jianghu coins. There's no need for that. Feng Jixing snickered and said, Your reputation as a miser has long spread far and wide. Otherwise, His Highness, you wouldn't have personally chosen you to be the Ministry of Revenue's minister. You just need to gather the 500 million Jianghu coins and hand it over to the Ministry of Works. As for the National Treasury, you must keep a record of every single item of the Treasury's income and expenditures and submit a copy to the Zetian Palace Hall every month. You and I trust you very much and believe that you can manage the Qin Empire's national treasury well. Don't disappoint us. Yes, this old subject understands. Feng Jixing had already made Zhang Rang obediently by using both carrots and carrots. Zhen Yifan said, according to His Highness Yu's description, there is a type of troop in the celestial pole continent called the Dragon Cavalry Troops. They are a group of warriors who ride on giant dragons and have astonishing power. If this is really the case, we must be prepared. Otherwise, we might be controlled by them at the first step. Yes. Feng Jixing nodded and said, the Dragon Cavalry is indeed very troublesome, but it's very difficult for us to deal with an army in the air. Ordinary arrows are unable to penetrate dragon armor. Even if it's a white diamond arrowhead, due to the weight and speed of the arrowhead, it might not be able to penetrate dragon armor. As for the magic crystal cannons, they might not be able to accurately hit the giant dragons either. Sigh. Qin Yan looked at Feng Jixing's frown and said, Your Highness Prince Xin, let's take it one step at a time. We haven't even seen a real dragon rider yet. It's still too early to consider how to deal with them. After all, Qin Yan was still too young. Feng Jixing let out a bitter laugh and didn't say anything. At this moment, Zheng Yifan narrowed his eyes and said, I wonder if the two of you still remember what Duke Wei Wei Chou is best at? Qin Yan was stunned. Archery. That's right. Zheng Yifan smiled faintly and said, it's precisely archery that can shoot a willow tree from 100 steps away. With Duke Wei's ability, he can shoot an enemy from 200 meters away with a 150 kilogram strong bow. This old subject is thinking, if we can train giant warhawks and let our army's godly archers ride on giant eagles and only shoot the eyes of the dragon riders' mounts, would it be effective? Feng Jixing was startled. Will it work? If they ride on warhawks, not only will their bodies be unstable, but the trajectory of the arrows will also be easily affected by the strong winds in the air. If they want to shoot a small dragon's eye, I'm afraid it won't be easy. But do we have any other way? Zheng Yifan let out a bitter laugh. Feng Jixing was speechless and waved his hand. It seems like that is indeed the case. Since that is the case, Duke Zhong shouldn't return to your fief in the Seven Seas province for now. Stay in the imperial capital and help the Ministry of War develop this type of warhawk godly archer. Yes, this old subject obeys. The entire Zetian Palace fell into silence once again. Everyone was thinking about different things, but after this conversation, Feng Jixing and Qin Yan had a preliminary impression and confidence of facing the enemy in the distance. Chapter 732. The Mugwort Mountain was a mountain range within the territory of the West Mountain Province. It stretched for 700 miles, almost running through the entire province. Not only did hunters and mercenaries live in the Mugwort Mountain, but there were also countless spirit beasts, demon beasts, and part of the Lanji Corps, one of the 4 armies of the Tianji Empire. The whole Mugwort Mountain was a complicated area, and had been in turmoil for thousands of years. But because there were so many demon beasts and spirit beasts in the mountain, the emperor of the empire, Baiming Yuan, could do nothing about it. Even if he sent out the Dragon Rider Corps to wipe them out, it would be a waste of time. So, it was better to let the land run its own course. But in this way many powerful warriors appeared. It was said that there were more than 20 Saint Martial Venerables in the Mugwort Mountain. On the south side of the Mugwort Mountain, the mountain path was difficult to walk. In the chaos, the two slowly walked on the mountain path full of thorns. Ouch! Lu Bai complained incessantly. He opened his water pouch and took a big gulp. Then he grumbled, "Young hero, since you can fly, why don't you bring me over this mountain range? Why do we have to walk step by step and make ourselves suffer?" Lin Muyu walked in the front leisurely. This journey was really a piece of cake for him. He looked back at Lu Bai and said, "Bai, didn't you say that you want to become a Saint Martial warrior, a powerful warrior respected by all? You can't even take this hardship to become a Saint Martial warrior?" "No, Lu Bai still wanted to argue, but Lin Muyu said, "Let's go. Once I start flying, I will soon be targeted. Do you want to be targeted by the Dragon Rider?" "But the Dragon Rider is not a match for you at all. You are so powerful, I have seen it all." Lu Bai had developed an almost crazy admiration for Lin Muyu, his big brother. In his eyes, even if Baiming Huan, the marshal of the empire, who was ranked among the martial gods, came here, Lin Muyu would still be able to kill him. Lin Muyu was too lazy to argue and only said, "That's because those 2 dragon riders were too weak. If it was a dragon rider general, an expert like Su Chuan, then I might only be able to sit and wait for death." "It can't be." Lu Bai was speechless, but he didn't say anything more. He just silently circulated the elementary chapter of the Forging Dragon Bone Remnant Scroll that Lin Muyu had taught him. He felt a warm current gradually emerging in his qi, and the strength he had consumed while walking was also somewhat replenished. He immediately became excited, feeling that he was about to cultivate his Qi King's fighting flame, and advance into the realm of God. Not long after, the sound of cackling came from the sky again. Lu Bai frowned. What a familiar voice. Wolf Falcon. Lin Muyu looked up and saw that the wolf falcon was indeed circling in the sky. He couldn't help but smile and casually broke off a fist-sized stone from the side of the mountain. "Young hero, what are you doing?" Lu Bai was stunned. "This wolf falcon is at least 1,000 meters away from us. Even a godly archer might not be able to hit it. This stone of yours, isn't it a little too superficial? Watch carefully." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and suddenly bent his body. His whole body shot out like a bow, and the stone in his hand shot out with a schwa sound. It was so fast that the friction in the air actually caused sparks to appear, and it shot into the sky like a meteor. Bah! In the midst of the blood spurting out, the wolf falcon fell from the sky, landing in the grass not far away. Lu Bai's mouth was already wide open. Perhaps he shouldn't use common sense to measure this young ranger in front of him. Up until now, Lin Muyu hadn't mentioned a single word about his identity, so Lu Bai could only think that he was a ranger. Ranger was everywhere in the Celestial Pole. Wanderers could be found everywhere in the Celestial Pole continent. The so-called wanderers were just a group of people who cultivated martial arts and were unwilling to farm. Some had cultivated to the peak of martial arts and became a grandmaster of a generation, while some had only taken a peek at the door and finally became a hooligan who ran amok in the countryside. The majority of people belonged to the latter category. Therefore, wanderers were not worthy of the word chivalry. In their eyes, there was no chivalry to speak of. There was only power and money. Lin Muyu stepped on the shrubs and flew over, lifting the wolf falcon's corpse. It was indeed a feathered animal, but it was much larger than an ordinary falcon. The wolf's head had been smashed in half by the stone, and it looked somewhat ferocious. Lin Muyu raised his hand and condensed a fire blade, and with a palm strike the wolf's head was cut off, and the force of the palm strike charred the wolf falcon's neck. Lin Muyu leaped to Lu Bai's side, raised the wolf falcon and said, "Look, this is enough for us to eat 3 to 5 meals." "Wolf falcon, I've never eaten a wolf falcon before." Lu Bai was delighted. "Isn't it just eating bird meat? Is there a need to be so happy?" Lin Muyu was puzzled. "Young hero, there's something you don't know. Lu Bai began to speak eloquently. This wolf falcon is also known as a dragon falcon. It's said that wolf falcons were bred by the dragon rider ancestors tens of thousands of years ago. In order to maintain their extremely sharp sense of smell, wolf falcons have been fed with the fragments of dragon crystals since childhood, so wolf falcons are extremely valuable. They have always been raised by dragon rider regiments, and I've only heard that a prince of the empire once bought a wolf falcon. Just this one cost him 700,000 gold coins, which is enough to feed half a small city for half a year. It can't be right? Lin Muyu weighed the wolf falcon in her hand and couldn't help laughing. I didn't expect this thing to be so valuable. If you can't blame me. I've already warned Hu Yin and Li Ku not to follow me anymore. Since they dare to send wolf falcons, then so be it. We'll eat as many as they send. How about it, Lini? Lu Bai was ecstatic. Good, I'll definitely eat more tonight. This day's journey has consumed too much physical strength. And when night fell, the two of them could only set up camp deep in the mountains. Lin Muyu chose a place that was close to a cave and had a wide view to set up camp. Even after stepping into the divine realm, he still maintained the judgment and accomplishment that an imperial soldier should have. Such a camp was not easy to be discovered, and when outsiders entered, he could easily detect it himself. They started a bonfire with dead wood that they picked up from all over the place. Lu Bai was also a pitiful charlatan. Camping in the wild was as common as eating to him. After setting up the bonfire, he removed the feathers of the eagle and removed the dirt, pierced it with a wooden stick, and placed it above the flame to roast. Then he took out the oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and chili powder that he bought from the town at the foot of the mountain and sprinkled them on the eagle's meat. The meat was covered in oil and made a squeaking sound, which was very tempting. The eagle flew all year round, so the meat on its wings and chest were all well tempered. Under the roasting of the fire and the nourishment of the oil, the fragrance of the meat quickly spread. Lin Muyu unconsciously sniffed and said with a smile, "It smells so good. Lini, your barbecue skills are superb." "Is that so? Thank you for your praise, young hero." Lu Bai had a gratified look on his face as he said, "Thinking back, I once joined a spirit hunting group and was responsible for cooking for everyone. And that's probably how I trained my skills." Spirit hunting group? What's that? It's a group of individuals that hunt demon spirits. Apart from the Qingji dragon riders that roam around and hunt demon spirits, the experts among the commoners will also form a few spirit hunting groups to hunt some low-level demon spirits. My spirit hunting group had 7 people, but they weren't very strong. Later on, when we were hunting a tier 9 demon spirit, the group leader died in battle and the group was disbanded. Not bad. The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth drew back. A spirit hunting group that had their leader die in the line of duty while hunting the lowest level demon spirits. Sure enough, they weren't weak at all. Lu Bai awkwardly smiled and said, "What do you think? If you want to hunt demon spirits, then you must cultivate. However, the price of cultivation is too expensive." The rich members of the landowning households can buy some reflux pills, rare elixirs, and other medicines to help generate true qi and nourish the body. When they are born, high-level combat skills and martial arts are already prepared. Look at us poor children, humph. A low-level martial art manual can easily cost tens of gold coins. How could we possibly afford it? As he spoke, Lu Bai looked towards Lin Muyu. He was actually a little touched as he said, "Young hero, you taught me the forging dragon bone remnant scroll without any hesitation. To me, Lu Bai, this is truly the grace of a new life. No need to be so polite. Don't burn the meat and wipe away your tears. It's so embarrassing." "Haha, that's right, Lu Bai smiled foolishly. Although he was a swindler who read people's faces and brows, he was also a person born in poverty. His personality was still very simple and honest. This also made Lin Muyu secretly decide that before she left the Celestial Pole mainland, she would definitely teach Lu Bai some skills so that he could survive in this chaotic world. Not long after, the fragrance of the meat became increasingly rich. Lin Muyu could no longer hold it in. She took out a small demonic noise knife and cut off a piece of meat from the wolf falcon's chest. It was crispy and fragrant as it entered her mouth. She simply couldn't enjoy it more. The wolf falcon's meat that had been raised on dragon crystal fragments was indeed delicious. She didn't know what the heavenly jade dragon riders would think if they knew what she was thinking. They would probably cry, right? She ate heartily. It had been a long time since she had a good meal like this. After Lin Muyu ate and drank her fill, she leaned against the stone wall and closed her eyes to rest. They still had to continue their journey tomorrow, so she had to make sure that her body was at its peak. After all, in her two-man team, Lu Bai's battle prowess was equivalent to 0, so she had to take care of everything. As for Lu Bai, after he ate and drank his fill, he took out a small, sparkling and translucent stone from his bosom. "What's that?" asked Lin Muyu. "Demon Spirit Stone." Lu Bai said, "Have you forgotten? It's the crystallized essence of the demon spirit you killed. It's said that after refining the demon spirit stone, you can absorb a portion of the spiritual energy and convert it into your own cultivation. Otherwise, why do you think the heavenly jade dragon riders and so many cultivators would go hunting for demon spirits?" "Oh, I see." Lin Muyu nodded, smiled and asked, "Do you know how to refine it?" "I don't know." "What are you looking at if you don't know?" Lin Muyu opened her hand. "I know. Come, I'll help you refine it. Just focus on absorbing the spiritual energy in the demon spirit stone." "Really? Why would I lie to you?" Thank you, young hero." Lu Bai was ecstatic. Chapter 733. Swish, swish. The night was quiet, but there was a sparkling luster under the rock walls. The divine power of the law of fire was the most suitable for tempering. The demon spirit stone in Lin Muyu's palm was constantly turning, and it had already begun to decompose into energy particles the size of pomegranate seeds. These particles were pure energy bodies, containing more than half of the spiritual power of the demon spirit when it was alive. "Lini, do your best to absorb, but don't force yourself." "Yes, young hero." Lu Bai sat on the spot and circulated the elementary mental cultivation method of the forging dragon bone remnant scroll. He only felt the spiritual power constantly lingering around him. Lin Muyu was guiding him to absorb this energy from the outside world. Not long after, the spiritual power turned into a warm current and seeped into his energy sea, causing Lu Bai's originally very shallow energy sea to instantly fill up. Very quickly, his face flushed red as he said, "Young hero, I can't do it anymore. I feel like my stomach is about to explode." "Stop absorbing." And after stopping absorbing, Lu Bai's expression became calm. Next, he only needed to digest this spiritual power by himself. Lin Muyu looked at the demon spirit stone particles revolving in her palm. Lu Bai had only absorbed less than 1/1000th of it, which was really too much of a pity. Thus, Lin Muyu circulated her energy and tried to use her supreme divine power to guide these demon spirit stone energy particles into her energy sea. Suddenly, there was a feeling of trickling into the sea. The spiritual power of this demon spirit stone was only a hair from 9 oxen compared to Lin Muyu's strength, but it was always good to have some. Not long after, the pomegranate seeds in her palm were all refined. Lin Muyu also felt as if new nutrients had been injected into his energy sea. At this moment, the demon spirit stone was only about 1/3 of his energy sea, but there was still new energy for him to absorb. For a moment he was extremely excited. Cultivators in the Shattered Cauldron realm all had a bottleneck: martial soul cultivation. When the martial soul was upgraded to a certain level, it could no longer refine and absorb the energy of wild beasts. This was also the reason why many people were stuck at a certain level for decades or even centuries. Only when the martial soul was upgraded could they absorb and refine the spirit of wild beasts to increase their strength. Normally, they couldn't absorb any energy from the spirit of wild beasts. At this moment, Lin Muyu finally understood why there were so many sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings, and sacred martial venerables in the celestial pole continent. The reason was Demon Spirit Stone. Demon Spirit Stone could be used by cultivators at any time throughout the year. This was more than twice the effort for half the result. Demon Spirit Stone would be the dominant factor of the continent in the future. To the people of the Celestial Pole continent, the Shattered Cauldron realm was a piece of juicy meat. However, at this moment Lin Muyu changed her view. To the cultivators of the Shattered Cauldron realm, the Celestial Pole continent was the real juicy meat. Very quickly, he made up his mind that he must collect enough Demon Spirit Stones in the Heavenly Greatness continent before returning to the Empire. If he had enough Demon Spirit Stone, Chu Yao could step into the God realm and maintain his youthful appearance forever. If he had enough Demon Spirit Stone, Guiyang could easily step into the Saint realm and stop aging. Then he could cultivate to become a god and obtain eternal life. If he had enough Demon Spirit Stone, the Qin Empire could also cultivate enough divine kings and divine emperors to compete with the experts in the Celestial Pole continent. For a moment, Lin Muyu felt that the burden on his shoulders was too heavy. He was very clear about how precious Demon Spirit Stone was. However, people in the Celestial Pole continent were also very clear that to get enough demon spirit stone of a high enough level, one had to fight for it with a sword. He couldn't help but feel regretful. When he was in the clear Desolation City, he should have taken the risk and snatched the demon spirit stone from Sichuan. That was an excellent treasure. However, it was too late to regret. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Late at night, Lu Bai covered himself with some straw and fell asleep. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, couldn't fall asleep. His gaze was fixed on the fertile forest in the distance. The people of the Celestial Pole were trying to crush the mountains and rivers that Qinin had painstakingly unified. No matter what, even if he had to risk his life, he had to stop them. The road of cultivation was long and distant. No one knew what the future would be like. However, even if one couldn't see the future clearly, he must continue to work hard. Not knowing how long it had been, a strong wave suddenly came from the spiritual pulse technique. Something was coming. According to the pulse of the power, it didn't seem to be a spirit beast, so it could only be a demon spirit. Moreover, it was very strong, not inferior to the venerable demon that Sichuan had killed. Lini, wake up. Lin Muyu said lightly. What's wrong? Lu Bai rubbed his eyes. Lin Muyu said, something is coming. Be careful and act according to my signal. Ah. Lu Bai was confused. He didn't know what was going to happen. Not long after, a rustling sound came. It was the sound of footsteps on the grass. The light of the bonfire slowly swayed. From afar, a beautiful figure slowly walked over. It was a young girl wearing a beast skin robe and holding a longbow. She looked to be around 18 years old. She was slender and elegant, and her figure could be considered a stunner. She was curvaceous, and the beast skin robe couldn't wrap around her. Wah! Lu Bai's eyes started to shine. It's a young girl from a hunter family. What a stunner. Lin Muyu sneered. Your cultivation is too shallow. You can't see what's beneath the surface. Oh. Lu Bai smiled. It's because my cultivation is too shallow that I'm moved by women's charms. I'm not like you. You look like a monk in meditation. Lin Muyu was speechless. At this time, the young girl from a hunter family had already walked over. She smiled slightly. You too. I'm a hunter in the mountains. I followed my father to hunt a wild boar and got lost. Now I'm lost. There are jackals and wolves everywhere in the mountains, so I'll have to trouble you too. Can I spend the night here? I'll leave tomorrow at dawn. Lu Bai hurriedly said, Okay. I'll make room for you here. Lin Muyu frowned and smiled. Miss, you're so beautiful. You're a demon yourself. Why would you be afraid of the jackals and wolves in the mountains? Yo, the young girl glanced at Lin Muyu and said, What are you talking about, young master? As long as I'm human, I won't be afraid of jackals and wolves. Besides, I can't see the road clearly at night. Where do you want a weak girl like me to go? Lu Bai had already vacated the meadow. He patted the meadow with his palms. Miss, you can sleep here tonight. I'll protect you. By the way, I haven't asked for your name. My name is Lu Lian. Thank you for your care, young master. As she spoke, Lu Lian didn't go to Lu Bai's side. Instead, she walked directly to Lin Muyu's side and sat down by the campfire. She said, I'll stay here. The mountain winds are strong and it's quite cold at night. Don't you think so, young master? She blew the wind by her ear. A warm feeling came to Lin Muyu's ear. Lu Bai's face turned green. He was so attentive, but the young girl didn't buy it at all. Instead, she went to Lin Muyu's side. This was indeed a world where looks mattered. Could one get many women just because he was handsome? I, Lu Bai, am not convinced. He thought silently. However, Lin Muyu didn't think that the intimate attitude of the young girl was a good thing. The fluctuation of her spiritual pulse technique was very strong, and the demonic energy in the young girl's body was extremely tyrannical. As expected, demonic spirits were different from the spiritual beasts in the Shattered Cauldron realm. High-level demonic spirits could transform, and could even transform into such a beautiful woman. No wonder so many people fell for it. If she wasn't here today, Lu Bai would have fallen for it without a doubt. It would be fine if he could get intimate with her before he died, but if he didn't even enjoy this, then his death would have been too unjust. Of course, at this moment, Lu Bai's face turned green. He watched as the young girl leaned against Lin Muyu's side and spoke with a smile. She even used her big and round breasts to rub against Lin Muyu's arm. That feeling must be big and soft, right? Lin Muyu was silent. Soft my ass. Her arm felt as if it was being pressed by a shield. It was ice cold. This young girl was cold all over. She was clearly a cold-blooded demonic spirit. Is that enough? He turned his face and looked at the young girl. A faint golden light shone in his eyes as he said, "How many people have you harmed with this method?" Yo hee. The young girl's expression suddenly changed. She laughed exaggeratedly and said, "Young man, you have some skills. You're actually unmoved even after this. I think you're clearly not a man. You're not even interested in touching a delicious meal that's delivered to your doorstep." Is that so? The speed of his attack was extremely fast. He opened his 5 fingers and grabbed the young girl's neck. He used all his strength to throw her out. Bang! With a loud sound, the young girl rolled far away among the rocks. What the hell? Lu Bai's jaw was about to hit the ground. Young hero, you're too ruthless. You're playing with such violence. How can the young lady stand it? Can't you be gentle? Look for yourself. What kind of young lady is she? When Lu Bai looked again, he was scared out of his wits. Among the rocks, the beautiful face had already been torn into pieces. What replaced it was a giant head that looked like a lizard. The moment the human skin was torn apart, she turned into a 3-meter-tall demon spirit. There were a total of 2 colors on its neck. One was red and the other was green. This was a Demon King level demon spirit. It's over. I'm dead. Lu Bai's expression was filled with panic. Lin Muyu raised her hand and took out her longsword. She lightly said, "Commoner, if you were in my army, I would have already ordered you to be executed." What? To disturb the army's morale. Before Lin Muyu finished her words, she turned into a beam of light and charged forward. A Demon King level demon spirit's strength isn't any weaker than a low-level divine king. Facing such an opponent, she had to go all out. Her first move was the Stellar Arts Winding River of Falling Moon. The sword light turned into a crescent moon as it heavily slammed into the demon spirit's neck. Boom! Golden light rippled out. Lin Muyu's sword did not manage to cut off the Demon King's head. It only managed to cut off a few of its scales. On the contrary, the Demon King's expression became extremely ferocious. It swiped its claws and roared with a voice that was neither male nor female, "Stinking brat, you're courting death." Bah! Golden light burst out. The Demon King's claws actually passed through the dragon blood shield and directly slapped onto Lin Muyu's arm. Instantly, a burning pain came from her arm. She was bleeding. What a powerful Demon King. In just 1 round, it had already caused a superficial wound on Lin Muyu. Chapter 734. What? Is this all you've got? The Demon King's entire body was covered in a blood-red glow. His demonic energy surged. Both of his claws glowed with a cold light as he attacked like a gust of wind. Both of his arms danced wildly, bringing forth rays of light that cut the surrounding ground and rocks into pieces. When this kind of Demon King level demon spirit unleashes its full power, it is indeed very frightening. Lu Bai had long since hidden himself in the cave. He was trembling in fear. As he trembled, he muttered, "How could such a beautiful girl be a demon spirit? It really doesn't make sense." Outside the cave, Lin Muyu could only defend under the Demon King's fierce attack. Both of her arms formed a shield, and she used the wind elemental law to deflect most of the Demon King's strength. She used the falling star steps to retreat. In the blink of an eye, she was forced to retreat nearly 100 meters by the Demon King. Seeing that there was already a huge rock wall behind Lin Muyu, the Demon King's gaze became more and more ferocious. "Brat, your time of death has come." Is that so? Lin Muyu suddenly clenched her left hand. Suddenly, an invisible ribbon appeared in the air and tightly bound the Demon King's legs. It was the astral chain that Lin Muyu quietly activated. The almost invisible astral energy formed a ribbon and tied the Demon King's body to the 100-meter-tall rock wall, preventing it from taking another step forward. "It's my turn." The astral sword shone brightly. As Lin Muyu's body charged forward like lightning, dozens of sword lights burst out and crisscrossed around the Demon King. Pung peng peng sounds of slashing could be heard. However, the Demon King had the demonic energy shield to protect his body, so he was only injured and not killed. His body was covered in blood, and he used all his remaining strength to swing his claws. Bang! Lin Muyu's chest tightened. Her clothes were actually torn by the Demon King's power. A few shallow wounds also appeared on her chest. This time she was really injured. This Demon King's strength was very powerful. Flying in the sky, he decided to change his tactic. He gently raised his palm and a golden light descended from the sky. It was a dragon crystal. Bang! The celestial dragon crystal heavily bombarded the Demon King's head, causing it to be badly mutilated. Lin Muyu did not stop. She summoned the remaining divine power in her body and kept summoning the celestial dragon crystal. In the blink of an eye, dozens of celestial dragon crystals bombarded the Demon King's body one after another. Lin Muyu's divine power was also greatly consumed in a short period of time. She raised her right hand and suddenly threw the star sword. Xiao. Raging flames wrapped around the long sword as it spun rapidly in a spiral. It was the dragon flame spiral slash from 100 meters away. Roar! The Demon King opened his mouth wide and roared. A blood-colored astral wall condensed in front of him to block Lin Muyu's fierce attack. However, how could he block it? The stellar sword easily broke through the astral wall and directly pierced into the Demon King's mouth. With a "piu" sound, the sword blade came out of the Demon King's head and pierced into the rocky ground. Flames soared into the sky. The Demon King's body was almost engulfed by the dragon flames. The Demon Spirit Stone must not be burned, otherwise the attack would be in vain. Lin Muyu floated to the ground and stepped on the frost. Everywhere she passed, frost covered the ground. She quickly extinguished the fire but discovered that the Demon King's head was charred black. Just when Lin Muyu was about to reach it, a strong spiritual force rippled out from the Spirit Pulse technique. Not good, the Demon King was not dead yet. However, it was too late. The Demon King's feet turned cold. The Demon King's arms were like tough vines and hugged onto Lin Muyu's legs. It opened its bloody mouth and bit towards Lin Muyu's legs. Courting death. Without saying a word, Lin Muyu's fist descended from the sky and blasted straight onto the Demon King's head. 5 elements 8 wastelands annihilation. Bang! The heavy blow directly caused the Demon King's head to sink into the broken rocks. However, its arms were still hugging onto Lin Muyu's legs. Moreover, thin poisonous thorns grew out and pierced into Lin Muyu's calf. The numbing feeling made people feel very uncomfortable. Go to hell. Lin Muyu was extremely angry. He didn't care about the Demon Spirit Stone anymore. He raised his right fist and with the power of the 6 elements calamity, he once again punched the back of the Demon King's head. Bang! The back of the Demon King's head was completely blasted open and turned into mush. At the same time, the clamp on Lin Muyu's legs was released. He only felt a numbing feeling in his legs. He hurriedly circulated his supreme divine force to disperse the cold poison. Then he opened his palm and sucked out the Demon Spirit Stone from the brain. He burned it with fire and baptized it with wind blades. After cleaning it clean, he placed it into his cosmos sack. Lini, you can come out now. It's fine now. Lin Muyu slowly sat back down beside the bonfire. Killing this Demon King had consumed at least 70% of his divine force. He needed to recover quickly in case he encountered another strong opponent. If he was killed because of exhaustion, it would be too unjust. Lu Bai carefully walked out and picked up a branch to poke the Demon King's corpse and said, "Is it really dead?" "Yes, of course it's fake." "You actually single-handedly killed a Demon King?" Lu Bai frowned and muttered to himself in a low voice, "What a freak. Even a dragon rider might not necessarily be able to single-handedly kill a Demon King. This kid is really not simple." As he spoke, Lu Bai began to drag the Demon King's corpse. "What are you doing?" Lin Muyu was a little surprised and asked. "The Demon King's corpse is so disgusting. Moreover, the yin energy is too strong. It can't be roasted and eaten at all. What do you want the corpse for?" "You don't understand." Lu Bai grinned and said, "The Tianji Empire has a rule. Anyone who kills a demon spirit of the 6th rank or above can bring the corpse to various provinces and cities to receive a reward. This is the corpse of a Demon King. It's worth at least 10,000 gold coins. In addition, there will also be a Demon Spirit Stone from the Demon Venerable as a reward." The Demon Spirit Stone from the Demon Venerable? Lin Muyu was stunned. He didn't care about 10,000 gold coins, but he couldn't help but be tempted by the Demon Spirit Stone from the Demon Venerable. After all, the Demon Spirit Stone was equivalent to a treasure that could increase one's cultivation. It was a good thing no matter where it was. Although he didn't want to cause trouble, he didn't want to let go of a good opportunity to get the Demon Spirit Stone from the Demon Venerable. "Is there any city nearby where I can get it?" Lin Muyu asked. "Let me think." Lu Bai pondered for a while and pointed to the east. He said, "Over the Wormwood Mountain about 100 miles to the east is the central city of Xishan Province, Shiping City. Shiping City is known as one of the 4 famous cities of the Tianji Empire. It's on par with Tianji City, Dongning City, and Huiyuan City. It's very rich. Probably only a famous city like Sheeping City will have ready-made demon spirit stones from the treasury. If we go to get the reward, will we be targeted? Young hero, if you're worried about this, why don't I go to get the reward alone and you follow me secretly? When we get out of the city, we'll split the money. What do you think? Lu Bai's eyes were already filled with the luster of the gold coins. Oh. Lin Muyu waved his hand and said, if it's really a reward, I'll give you 10,000 gold coins. I'll take the demon spirit stone from the demon venerable. Oh. Lu Bai was stunned. He said, but, although the demon spirit stone is a good thing, the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable, demon king, and demon emperor is actually not very expensive. Why do you value it so much? The price is not high? What? Lin Muyu was confused. Lu Bai immediately smiled. Although refining the demon spirit stone can absorb the spiritual energy in the spirit stone and turn it into one's own, the spiritual energy in the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable, demon king, and demon emperor is too strong. After refining it, all the spiritual energy will leak out. It's already not bad for an ordinary cultivator to absorb 1 or 2% of the spiritual energy. I heard that even a sacred martial god can't completely refine and absorb the power of the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable in one go. Therefore, the price of the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable is actually not much different from that of the 5th and 6th grade. Most of them are only for the collection of the aristocrats. I see. Lin Muyu had some doubts in her heart. Not long ago, she refined the demon spirit stone of the 5th grade, but after she completely absorbed the spiritual energy in the demon spirit stone, her chi-si was only filled by 1/3. However, according to what Lu Bai said, even the top sacred martial god couldn't completely absorb the demon spirit stone of the demon venerable. From this, it could be seen that the degree of integration was not as good as hers. Why was this so? She was confused and couldn't figure it out. However, he didn't know that the Supreme Godhead was a gift from the heavens. Naturally, the amount and speed of the integration of spiritual energy was much higher than that of the other 4th-grade godheads. Lin Muyu didn't know the magical effects of the Supreme Godhead, but she was also growing rapidly under the blessing of the Supreme Godhead. The two of them quickly decided to leave the Ai Chao Mountain at daybreak and head for Sheeping City. At the same time, Lin Muyu also wanted to see how prosperous this legendary city, one of the 4 famous cities of the Qinji Empire, was. Know thyself and know thy enemy, and you will never be defeated. At daybreak it started to rain. As a result, Lu Bai was completely drenched. However, Lin Muyu was different. With the protection of her divine power, the rainwater separated itself when it was 5 centimeters away from her body. She carried the Demon King's corpse in one hand and climbed over the mountain in a much easier manner than Lu Bai. After walking for an entire day and night, they finally arrived at Sheeping City early the next morning. After resting for a bit at an inn outside the city, they hired a carriage in the afternoon and loaded the Demon King's corpse. Lu Bai drove the carriage into the city, while Lin Muyu maintained her original knight-errant attire and followed closely behind. This Demon King was hunted by her with great difficulty, so she had to keep a close eye on the rewards. From a distance, the outer city walls of Sheeping City were at least 30 meters tall. They were extremely majestic, and the bricks were all made of pure white marble. One could imagine how sturdy it was. Lin Muyu raised her head and looked at the walls. She could clearly see that there was a guard every 5 meters on the city walls. The guards were equipped with long swords and bows. In addition, there was a crossbow carriage every 10 meters. Each crossbow carriage could load 10 thick steel arrows at once, so its shooting power was definitely very powerful. What made Lin Muyu even more surprised was that there were also some lassos on the city walls. They were probably used to hunt targets in the air, right? That was the only way to think about it. Chapter 735. Sheeping City could be said to be as prosperous as Lanyan City. Merchants and travelers were as numerous as the clouds and pedestrians weaved together. The moment she stepped into Sheeping City, Lin Muyu had the illusion that this was simply a flourishing city. Of course, after meeting Su Chuan and the other dragon riders, Lin Muyu would no longer maintain this thought. The Qinji Empire was divided into different levels of governance. The distinction between nobility and lowliness was even stricter. Those who possessed absolute strength were even more cruel and merciless. They viewed human lives as nothing more than trifles. An extremely luxurious and majestic mansion was located in the center of Sheeping City. It occupied an extremely large area and was as luxurious as a palace. This was the Sheeping City City Lord's mansion. It was also the residence of the provincial governor, Baiming Shuang. In the depths of the mansion in the meeting room, Baiming Shuang had a mustache and sat upright on a carved chair. His cheekbones were a little protruding but his eyes were full of light. He gently put down the teacup in his hand and said with a smile, "Since First Miss has said so, then Shiping City cannot help the Qingji sect with this matter. Don't worry. Although 105th tier demon spirit stones are a little difficult to obtain, I will definitely gather them for you even if I have to turn the Shiping Prefecture's treasury upside down." In front of him, a young girl dressed in green sat very calmly. Her delicate and jade-like face made people gasp in amazement at the miraculous creation of the heavens. The heavens and earth could actually create such a delicate and wonderful person. "Then thank you, Lord Governor." The young girl stood up and bowed elegantly. She smiled and said, "Then I will return first and wait for the Lord Governor's news." "All right, First Miss, don't worry. Guards, send First Miss Sikong off." "Yes." A few guards waited respectfully outside the door. After the young girl left, her attendants also followed respectfully behind her. Although this was Shiping Prefecture, the young girl's eyes were filled with arrogance. It was as if she did not place Shiping Prefecture in her eyes at all. However, she indeed had the ability to be so arrogant. After all, she was Sikong Yao, the only granddaughter of the Qingji sect leader, Sikong Ming. She was simply the treasure of the entire Qingji sect. In the hall, Baiming Shuang was silent. Behind him, a middle-aged powerhouse with bright eyes said, "My lord, the Celestial Jewel sect is going overboard. They didn't even ask His Majesty and directly asked for something from Shiping City." The Celestial Jewel sect Sikong Yao is looking down on you." Forget it, Baiming Shuang shook his head and said, "Who asked her to be Sikong Yao? That old fellow Sikong Ming treats Sikong Yao like the apple of his eye." The Qingji sect is the #1 sect in the empire and even the mainland. We can't afford to offend them. Even if they ask His Majesty will still order Shiping City to provide 100 demon spirit stones to her. Forget it, let's get someone to search the treasury. If they can't gather enough, then go to the Chamber of Commerce and buy them at a high price. In short, try your best to satisfy Sikong Yao's requests. Don't bring unnecessary trouble to yourself. Yes, I understand. At this moment, a guard's voice came from outside the hall. "Governor, there's someone outside who said he brought the corpse of a demon king and wants to receive a reward. That person looks ordinary and has no cultivation at all. He must be a swindler. Let me chase him away." "Swindler?" Baiming Shuang frowned. "I don't think so. Since he dared to bring the corpse of a demon king, then let him enter the courtyard. Let's go take a look." "Yes, Governor." Outside the door, Sikong Yao, who had not gone far, frowned and said softly, "The corpse of a demon king? Who has such great ability to kill a demon king? Don't go yet. Let's take a look first." "Yes, eldest lady." A group of guards nodded respectfully. Among them there was no lack of martial venerables. With such a group of people as guards, one could imagine how distinguished Sikong Yao's status was. Perhaps even the princes of the empire might not have such an imposing manner when they went out. Accompanied by squeaking sounds, a person drove a carriage into the courtyard. It was Lu Bai. The demon king's corpse on the carriage was wrapped in black cloth, and outsiders could not see it clearly. "Governor, it's this person." A group of guards surrounded him, all of them looking ready to fight. If it was confirmed that Lu Bai was a swindler, there was no doubt that he would not end up well. "This lowly one greets Governor." Lu Bai quickly got off the carriage and knelt on the ground, looking spineless. Baiming Shuang was a member of the imperial family, so he naturally looked down on people like Lu Bai who mingled in the Jianghu. He frowned and said, "I heard that you killed the demon king and even brought its corpse?" "I didn't kill it." Lu Bai said, "It's just that when this lowly one passed by Ai Chao Mountain, I found this demon king's corpse. The notice of the empire clearly states that as long as you bring the demon king's corpse, you can receive the reward. Sir, please take a look, this corpse is still intact." After the cloth was lifted, the demon king's corpse was revealed. The faint stench made the surrounding people cover their mouths and noses. Baiming Shuang was silent, and a martial artist at the side frowned and said, "Sir, this is indeed the demon king's corpse." Sikong Yao was stunned, and her beautiful eyes were full of surprise. "Xueji? This is Xueji's corpse. Xueji was actually killed?" Baiming Shuang was stunned. "Missy, who is Xueji?" Sikong Yao smiled and said, "Sir, there are many demon spirits living around Ai Chao Mountain, and they have been in conflict with our Qinji sect. This demon king's name is Xueji, and the number of people who died in her hands is at least 50. I didn't expect her to be dead now. What a pity, I originally wanted to kill her personally to avenge my sect. So this is indeed a demon king. Baiming Shuang was silent again. Lu Bai grinned and said, Lord Governor, according to the announcement, can this lowly one be given a reward now? Baiming Shuang was not willing to give the expensive demon spirit stones to a lowly person like Lu Bai, but there were so many people here. If Baiming Shuang was not willing to hand over the reward, he would definitely become a laughing stock, especially Si Kongyao. She was crossing her arms in front of her chest, and her pair of C-cup breasts were protruding. She was smiling and waiting to see him make a fool of himself. He must not be looked down upon by this little girl. Baiming Shuang's mouth twitched and said, Someone, go to the treasury and take out a demon venerable's demon spirit stone and 20,000 gold coins worth of gold notes to give to this young hero. In addition, since you have obtained the demon king's corpse, why don't you stay in the prefecture for a few more days? Take it as a form of hospitality from Shiping City. What do you think? Lu Bai was not stupid. If he really stayed in Shiping Prefecture, he might not even be able to leave alive. He grinned and said, This is not very good. I'm just a commoner, so I won't disturb you. Moreover, my friend is still waiting for me. I'll go back after receiving the reward. If that's the case, all right then. Baiming Shuang did not want to force him in front of so many people. Not long after, a servant came with the reward. It was a thick stack of gold notes and a precious demon spirit stone in a box. The demon spirit stone of a demon venerable was quite expensive. It was not something that could be bought with tens of thousands of gold coins. Then I'll take my leave. Lu Bai happily took the rewards and stuffed them into his arms. He unloaded the demon king's corpse, turned around and drove his horse away. Baiming Shuang did not say anything. He only signaled his subordinate with his eyes. The middle-aged expert nodded and smiled. He turned around and walked towards the backyard. Miss Si Kongyao, I won't be sending you off. Baiming Shuang smiled. All right, thank you for your hospitality, Governor. Si Kongyao nodded and turned around to leave Shiping Prefecture. A group of subordinates followed closely behind. One of them asked in a low voice, Miss, where are we going now? Why don't we stay in Shiping Prefecture? Stay in Shiping Prefecture? Si Kongyao pouted. What's so fun about Shiping Prefecture? It's so boring. Besides, Baiming Shuang is a cunning old fox. I don't want to live under his nose. The guard smiled. I think that kid who took the demon venerable's demon spirit stone will not be able to leave Shiping City alive. Sooner or later, this demon spirit stone will return to Baiming Shuang's hands. The reputation of being the most miserly person in Xishan province is not just for show. Who cares? A hint of fatigue appeared on Si Kongyao's beautiful face. She said, Let's go. We'll find an inn to stay in first. I want to take a good stroll around Shiping City in the afternoon. Yes, miss. But the guards did not see the sly smile that flitted across Si Kongyao's beautiful face. At dusk, outside of Shiping City at the 10-Mile Slope Inn. 10-Mile Slope was one of the 3 inns in the north of the city. The accommodation was considered cheap, so Lin Muyu chose this place. When Lu Bai drove the carriage into the inn, Lin Muyu, who was hiding among the pedestrians, quickly followed. She patted Lu Bai's shoulder and smiled. All right, the demon spirit stone is mine, and the gold notes are yours. Lu Bai held the 20,000 gold notes in his hands. He was already elated. He happily handed the demon spirit stone to Lin Muyu and said, Young hero, you've really made a fortune. Aha, this is great. I, Lu Bai, have finally made a name for myself. Let's see who in Qinghuang City still dares to look down on me, Lu Bai. When I return to Qinghuang City, I'll buy a big house with 4 entrances and 4 exits. I'll have 30 concubines, one every day, once a month. Lin Muyu said, There are only 28 days in February. What should we do? Lu Bai was stunned. He sat down on the cold stone floor of the inn's inner courtyard. Yes, what should we do? Haha, why think so much? Let's eat a good meal first. All right. In the blink of an eye, it was late at night. Lin Muyu and Lu Bai's rooms had all turned off their lights. Not only was Lu Bai exhausted, but even Lin Muyu felt that she needed enough sleep. The moonlight was like water. Apart from the sounds of a group of guests gambling in the inn's lobby, everything seemed to be so quiet. Shwa shwa shwa. 3 silhouettes appeared on the roof of the house. All of them had their faces covered, and the steel sabers in their hands glowed with a cold light. Chapter 736. That brat is staying here. Sky Room 1. We've already confirmed it, one of them said coldly. The other narrowed his eyes. That brat is just a piece of trash who doesn't know martial arts. I don't think he has even reached the Earth realm. Why do we have to waste so much effort? We can just charge in and kill him. Then we can take the demon spirit stones and go back to report. No, it's not that simple. The Lord wants us to investigate this brat's identity. Also, we need to investigate the identities of all the people accompanying him. Someone who can kill a demon king is definitely not that simple. Yes, should we kill that brat or not? Kill. Then how do we investigate his identity? We'll investigate after we kill him. Okay. The three of them flipped over and landed on the ground of the courtyard nimbly like sparrowhawks. There were even waves of domain power rippling around them. That was the strength of a holy heaven realm cultivator. However, before the three of them could make a move, a woman's voice came from the forest in the courtyard. It was very clear and melodious. Stop. The three of them were stunned. They turned around and saw a girl in green standing in the air. It was Si Kongyao, who had gone to Shiping Prefecture during the day. Meddlesome. Let's attack together. Even though they knew Si Kongyao's identity, they could only pretend that they didn't know. If they couldn't complete this mission, the three of them would definitely be severely punished when they returned. They knew this very well. Are you guys looking for death? Si Kongyao suddenly smiled. She stood in the air and formed a pair of palms with her hands. Instantly, streams of frost energy swirled around her. It was extremely mysterious. The entire force field in the inner courtyard of the inn was immediately controlled by Si Kongyao. Sky full of frost. Si Kongyao shouted. The surrounding air seemed to instantly freeze. Among the three, the Holy King Realm Cultivator's steel blade, which was surrounded by King's fighting flame, was instantly frozen. Si Kongyao moved like a butterfly. Her 5 fingers lightly flipped over and pressed on his chest. He instantly flew back while vomiting blood. He was actually defeated in just one move. Whoosh. A cold light flashed, and this was the attack of a Divine Heaven Realm Cultivator. It was extremely fast, and the blade was surrounded by King's battle flame. This simple blade seemed to be able to cut through everything in the world. Si Kongyao's beautiful face was filled with calmness. Suddenly she stepped into the air, her small waist horizontally, maintaining her posture as if she was lying in midair. Coincidentally, she dodged the sharp blade. Raising her palm, she chopped towards the opponent's shoulder. Ice Profound Art's second form, Condensing Ice Blade. In the blink of an eye, a round of weapons appeared around Si Kongyao's palm. Bang. Under this heavy blow, one could even hear the sound of his shoulder blade breaking. Even a Divine Heaven Realm expert was unable to withstand Si Kongyao's attack. Again. The third person also arrived. Even though the second Divine Heaven Realm expert's shoulder had been injured, he still charged forward with his saber in hand. His expression was twisted with malevolence. If they couldn't kill Si Kongyao, they were going to die anyway. After all, they had already attacked the young mistress of the Tianji sect, so what could they do even if they went back? A single word from Si Kongming would be enough to kill them 10,000 times. As such, they could only kill Si Kongyao as this was their only way out. Hee hee, Si Kongyao let loose a peal of crisp laughter as she quickly retreated. The water vapor in the surrounding air was quickly manipulated by her, and a series of small icicles appeared around her. Seeing as you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Si Kongyao gently spread open her fingers, and her divine power surged forth. Countless ice spikes hurtled through the air around her, striking the oncoming duo like a torrential downpour. The ice spikes easily tore through their suits of battle armor, and it was as if the rain of ice had been transformed into a rain of blood. Even though this was a massacre, it still appeared to be quite graceful. Aria of the Frozen Rain was the least destructive of the Ice Profound Arts, but it was also the most beautiful move. Bang bang, 2 corpses fell to the ground. Si Kongyao stood proudly in the air, her long hair fluttering in the wind. Her clothes fluttered slowly, accentuating her impressive figure. In the blink of an eye, only one of the 3 assassins from Shiping Prefecture was left, and it was a heavily injured one. He scrambled to his feet, knelt on the ground and cried, "Young Mistress Sikong, we were wrong, we were wrong. Please spare my life, I won't dare to do it again. Please spare my life, young mistress. This lowly one will definitely be grateful to you for the rest of his life. Go." Si Kongyao chuckled. The assassin turned and ran away. Si Kongyao raised her hand. Pfft. An icicle pierced straight through the assassin's chest. He slowly knelt on the ground with his face full of horror. I didn't say I wouldn't kill you. The smile on Si Kongyao's beautiful face disappeared as she said, an assassin will be killed one day. Do you think I'll give you the chance to go back and report to Baiming Shuang? Dream on. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? As she spoke, Si Kongyao looked towards Lin Muyu and Lu Bai's room from afar. She couldn't help but frown lightly as she said, I caused such a big commotion and they actually didn't feel it? You must be pretending. If you're not an idiot, you must be an otherworldly expert. In the room, Lin Muyu was lying calmly on the bed. He naturally knew about the battle outside, but he knew the outcome the moment it started. The zither exploded, and Lin Muyu had her suit of battle armor on, so at the very least, the zither wouldn't be able to harm her. You really are an expert. Si Kongyao spun around in retreat, and her feet treaded through the air as frost energy revolved around her body. Come on, do it. I want to know just how powerful the person who killed the demon monarch is. Here? Lin Muyu sat up and pointed at her head. Is there water in here? At this moment, another person appeared at the door. It was Lu Bai, and he asked with sleepy eyes, Young hero, what's going on? What are you doing in the middle of the night? Who is this beauty? Wow, you're flying. Si Kongyao landed on the ground, tidied up her clothes and smiled politely. We meet again. You're the beauty from Shiping Prefecture during the day. I know you. Lu Bai only knew that Si Kongyao was the beauty from earlier, but he didn't know her identity. Otherwise he would have been scared to death. What were you doing in the young hero's room? Lu Bai asked again. Si Kongyao smiled. Nothing much, I suddenly walked into the wrong door. I'm sorry, I'll leave now. You want to leave just like that? Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. Why did you hit my head with your zither? Did I? Where's the zither? Si Kongyao was calm. Damn it, she seemed to have predicted that the zither would be shattered into pieces by the battle armor. Lin Muyu didn't want to cause trouble, so she waved her hand. You can leave now, I'm going to sleep. Lu Bai looked at the broken door. Young hero, your door is gone, how are you going to sleep? It's nothing, just help me hang the bedsheet on it. Okay. Outside the door, Si Kongyao was walking along the corridor of the inn, her brows tightly locked together. How is this possible? How is this possible? Why does he have that calmness? Why is it like this? He must be hiding his strength, I must force him to make a move. Someone who can kill a demon king must be at least a Saint Martial king. I must help my grandfather win over such a rookie and let him join the Tianji sect. Creak. The door beside her opened and a shifty-eyed man smiled. Yo, miss, you're here to solicit business in the middle of the night? You're so pretty. How much for a night? Come in. Get lost. Si Kongyao's face was as cold as ice. Chapter 737. The next morning, the heavy spring rain did not seem to stop at all. Lin Muyu and Lu Bai got up early and had a simple breakfast in the lobby of the inn, which consisted of several steamed buns and pickled vegetables. Later, Lu Bai bought 2 tents and some cooking materials. When they were about to leave, a young girl led a horse and followed them from a distance. As Lin Muyu expected, it seemed that Si Kongyao had not given up the idea of drawing him into the Tianji sect. She was really persistent. They bought 2 straw raincoats and got on the horse. The spring rain was slightly cold, but the pear blossoms on the roadside were already in full bloom. It was snow-white and the petals fell with the raindrops. The fragrance seeped into the soil, which was indescribably poetic and picturesque. Young hero, Si Kongyao is following us. Lu Bai reminded him in a low voice. Who cares? If she wants to follow us, let her. They went straight to the Tianji province. The capital of the Tianji Empire, Tianji City, was their next destination. However, if they wanted to go to the Tianji province, they had to take a detour. They had to go through the Mugwort Mountain, which was 300 miles long, before they could get on the official road to the Tianji city. This was a shortcut. Otherwise, they had to take a detour which would take at least half a month. Si Kongyao followed them from a distance. At noon, they entered the mountain. Originally, Lin Muyu thought that Si Kongyao would turn back. After all, the Mugwort Mountain was not an ordinary place. It was not only full of all kinds of dangers but also very difficult. However, Si Kongyao did not do that. She still urged her horse to follow them from a distance. Lu Bai finally could not take it anymore. He stopped his warhorse and asked, First young Mistress Sikong, why are you following us like this? We're just 2 nameless brats. You're the first young mistress of the Tianji sect. Why are you so calculative with us? Si Kongyao blinked her bright eyes and said, we should go our separate ways. Why do you say that I'm following you? Lu Bai was stunned and actually had nothing to say. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, young Mistress Sikong, I'm just a nobody. I'm not interested in making a name for myself, so I won't join the Tianji sect. Please give up. A person who can kill a demon king is definitely not simple. How can someone like you be content with being ordinary? Si Kongyao's lips curled up into a charming smile. I don't believe it. Let's wait and see. If you want to follow us, then follow us. We can't stop you. It's none of your business. Si Kongyao pouted and looked unhappy. Actually, ever since she was born she was doted on by everyone. Everyone in the Tianji sect doted on her. However, Si Kongyao was extremely strong. She followed her grandfather Si Kongming and cultivated the most difficult ice mystic technique. In just a few decades she actually made great progress. Furthermore, with the help of an endless supply of demon spirit stones, she stepped into the first heaven of the deity realm before the age of 20. It could be said to be a miracle. The strong-willed Si Kongyao naturally did not want to be seen as a spoiled young mistress. Therefore, when Lin Muyu revealed an expression of, we won't take care of you, Si Kongyao's explosive temper was about to explode. The mountain road was difficult to traverse. By the time the sky turned dark, they had only crossed 2 mountains. Even the warhorses were so tired that they were about to foam at the mouth, let alone the people. Lin Muyu and Si Kongyao were still fine, but Lu Bai was on the verge of death and repeatedly asked for a rest. Lin Muyu looked at the surrounding terrain. After a while, she pointed to a distance and said, let's set up camp in the valley over there. When Lu Bai led the horse over, Si Kongyao watched from afar. She could not help but feel a little surprised. That kid chose such a place to set up camp seemed simple, but in fact there was a hidden secret. That place was surrounded by walls, which was the best place to hide one's aura and not be discovered by the demon spirit. Even if one lit a fire, it would not be easily discovered. When attacked by beasts, one could easily defend against the cold and wind by leaning on the wall behind them. It was simply wonderful. This guy, who is he? Si Kongyao muttered to herself as she led her horse and walked over as well. The valley was very spacious and there were a few residents. They were swift wolves that were over 1,000-year-old spirit beasts. The Heaven's Pole continent also had these kinds of spirit beasts. Lin Muyu could not help but smile. Dinner is prepared so quickly, not bad. Shio. The demonic noise blade slashed out and a swift wolf fell to the ground. The other swift wolves were frightened by Lin Muyu's aura and ran away. He did not chase after them as he did not need to kill spirit beasts. After all, they were formed from heaven and earth spiritual energy. Lu Bai took out a dagger and skinned the swift wolf and washed it with the water he brought. Then he used the iron pot to cook tonight's dinner. Soon, the pot of swift wolf meat emitted a faint fragrance. The swift wolf was of the fire attribute and its meat was very dry, but in this kind of cold spring night, the meat of the swift wolf seemed to be the most suitable food. Lin Muyu and Lu Bai sat next to the fire, while Si Kongyao stood, aloof, on a hill not far away. She looked over from afar as if she was afraid that Lin Muyu would suddenly disappear. Lu Bai scooped up a bowl of meat soup and gave a bowl to Lin Muyu. Then he said to Si Kongyao in the distance, young miss, come and eat. The early spring nights are very cold. Si Kongyao's voice was ice cold. I'm not hungry, you guys eat. Lin Muyu raised her head to look at her and said, Bai, don't worry about her. We'll just eat. The two of them ate heartily. Si Kongyao watched from afar and couldn't help but swallow her saliva. Her beautiful eyes drifted over. Lin Muyu found this funny. She picked up the bowl of meat soup that Lu Bai had scooped up in a pair of chopsticks. She stepped forward and disappeared on the spot with a whoosh. In the next moment she appeared in front of Si Kongyao. This was the teleportation ability of Void Step. You really are a god, Si Kongyao said with a proud smile. Lin Muyu passed the meat soup in front of her and said, Are you satisfied now? Can you eat? If I starve you, I'm worried that the Tianji sect will send people to kill me and Lu Bai. Moreover, how did you get rid of those tails of yours? The corner of Si Kongyao's mouth rose and she didn't refuse. She took the bowl and chopsticks from Lin Muyu and said, It's too easy to get rid of those people. I have 100 ways. Can you tell me your name now? I'm a savage from the mountains. I have no name and follow my master to cultivate. Lu Bai calls me young hero. You can call me that too. Isn't this too casual? Si Kongyao couldn't help but curl her lips and say, "Everyone has their own name but you don't. You're such a strange person." Lin Muyu shrugged, indicating that she didn't care. She pointed at the 2 tents that had just been set up in the valley and said, "I don't think you bought anything to set up camp. You can choose one of the 2 tents. Bai and I will squeeze in." This isn't too good, right? It's fine. Just treat it as my thanks to you." "Thanks?" Si Kongyao was confused. "What are you thanking me for?" "Thank you for helping me and Bai deal with the assassins from Shiping Prefecture last night. Otherwise, I'm afraid Bai and I would be on the wanted list of Shiping Prefecture very soon." "You know all about it?" Si Kongyao's small mouth opened wide. "If you don't eat now, the food will get cold." Lin Muyu didn't answer her question. She took a step forward and disappeared from where she stood. She once again appeared in the valley. Si Kongyao was dumbfounded. Anyone who had stepped into the immortal realm could shatter the void. There were so many sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings, and sacred martial venerables in the empire who could shatter the void. However, Si Kongyao had never seen someone who could shatter the void consecutively in less than 3 minutes. Perhaps her grandfather could do it? Who on earth was this kid? Filled with questions, she quickly ate the meat and drank the soup. She had been hungry for almost a day. Now that she had eaten this, she felt that it was the most delicious thing in the world. She never knew that wolf meat could be so delicious. Late at night, the cold wind of early spring blew through the valley. Si Kongyao went into one of the tents to rest. Lu Bai was also afraid of the cold, so he went into another tent. Only Lin Muyu didn't want to sleep. She floated up and landed on a pine tree on the cliff. She sat on the thick branch of the pine tree and took out the demon venerable spirit stone. Since she didn't want to sleep, she would try to refine this demon venerable spirit stone to increase her strength. Her cultivation in the 21st heavenly abode had been stagnant for a long time. She took out the fire of the refining cauldron and slowly refined the demon venerable spirit stone. However, this was a demon venerable spirit stone. It was not as easy to refine as a 5th-rank demon venerable spirit stone. Lin Muyu held the flame in her hand. After 2 hours, the demon venerable spirit stone's exterior finally began to disintegrate. It broke down into spiritual power particles the size of pomegranate seeds. Each particle contained a very rich spiritual power that could be absorbed. Lin Muyu closed her eyes and guided the supreme divine power in her body to fuse with the pomegranate seeds. She began to assimilate the power of the demon venerable spirit stone. Her left hand naturally and gently raised. A faint golden dark force flowed back. This was the power of the refining spirit art's 4th heavenly cultivation method. 1000 tempering 100 refinement. The power of the demon venerable spirit stone in her right hand slowly gathered in her left hand and flowed repeatedly. Every strand of energy circulated 3 to 5 times in the refining spirit art's mental cultivation method and automatically seeped into Lin Muyu's chi. That was the dark force that had been assimilated. Although she didn't say anything, Lin Muyu was ecstatic in her heart. The refining spirit art was indeed an exquisite mental cultivation method. It couldn't be better to use it to refine the demon venerable spirit stone. In the blink of an eye, another 2 hours passed. The pomegranate seeds in her right hand were almost used up. However, Lin Muyu's chi was almost full. It was about 95% full. What a terrifying supreme divine power stone. Even a whole demon venerable spirit stone couldn't fill up the chi completely. This kind of absorption power was too shocking. In the distance, a beautiful figure floated in the air. It was Si Kongyao. No one knew when she had come out. She stood in the air and quietly watched how Lin Muyu refined and absorbed the demon venerable spirit stone. The more she watched, the more shocked and confused she became. She opened her eyes wide and murmured, "How is this possible? A person can actually refine a demon venerable spirit stone in one go. This is something that even my grandfather can't do." That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.